Uh-oh. 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 I did it. I did it again. Yep, it's here. We're here. It's episode 54. And I am so stoked for this episode. Today, as a matter of fact, I'm going to have to change the little thing that says the name because the name's not right. But today I have a gentleman on. His name is Gallo Chingon, and I am so excited to have him on. He's going to be talking about sexual addiction and mental health. And I am just excited, absolutely excited to have him on. And I'm bringing him on stage right now. This is Gallo Chingon, and let's welcome to the show. Here we go. Gallo, thank you. Hey, man, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm up and bright and early out here in Reno, but it's a phenomenal day. It's not snowing, so I'm happy about it.
Yeah, it's so you're Reno, Nevada. It's early for you, man. I'm so thankful that you got up early to do this, man. You didn't have to get up so early. We could have done it later.
Actually, I haven't gone to bed yet, but I'm a night owl. That's no big deal.
He said, no, you don't understand. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't do this. Let me do this real quick. Hold on. Stay where you are. All right, ready? Good morning, good afternoon, or good night. I hope that you're doing well, and I hope that wherever you are is doing good for you. It's me, it's Paul Carpenter. This is On the Road, in the Waves, and on the other side, and I am your host. And once again, this is Gallo Chingon, so let's bring him back on. You know, how do you do shows?
This is why you need a producer.
So, what's that?
This is why you need a producer.
That's right. That's right. I need someone in the background going, hey, dude, you forgot to do the thing. So, Gallo Chingon, this is the way I like to start the show. I like to say, hello, thank you for coming. Where are you from? Who are you? And what are you about? Please let us know because we are interested.
Ooh, who am I? Man, that's a loaded question. Who am I? I am the chivalrous chauvinist, a widowed Texan, former or recovering intercourse addict, and that we can kind of get into that because some people say recovering, some people say former, and maybe you guys can be the judge of that. Where I'm from, originally from Houston, Texas, and I'm stuck out here in Reno because Tesla suckered me out here. But other than that, I'm living the dream, just having a great time, being able to express myself and be myself. Joining on different podcasts, joining on different things, and being a speaker, and just kind of get the word out there about mental health, particularly about sexual addiction, because intercourse addiction is something that kind of is seen as, oh yeah, right, that's not a real thing, or it just kind of gets lumped in with a bunch of other stuff. So,
I think the idea of just addiction in general isn't really truly understood in America. And or around the world, really. But I think more so here in the States, we have this weird mentality of what I've been expressed as the STARE platform, where I'm not going to help you unless you help yourself kind of ideology, right? And unfortunately, for somebody who has an addiction, for those who are even, homeless, and I like to say that the reason that most people are homeless is three reasons. It's either a mental problem, a physical problem, i.e. I have no arms, no legs. There's some issue for me to not be able to make my life, which could also be a mental, I don't believe in myself ideology. And then the last one is usually some kind of drug addiction, and that's why most people, I think maybe you'll get a very small percentage that super choose it and they're not drug addicts. And they just I just don't want to deal with society. I'd rather live in my van and travel around, but that's, I guess, each to their own, as they say.
Well, it's funny you mentioned homeless because I kind of, sorry to cut you off, but it was funny you mentioned homeless because I was homeless at one point in time. And, I kind of help the homeless in a sense. I'm a video editor for a guy that helps out homeless, but we can touch that later. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, no, I totally want to hear it. But so you said you were born in Houston?
Correct.
What part of Houston were you born in?
I was born in the South Side, but raised in North Side. So I grew up over by Gallery Furniture. I saw your phone number. So I'm like, I know you're either from there or got your phone there at one time. So
yeah. I was born and raised in Houston, Clear Lake area.
Okay.
Clear Lake Intermediate, elementary, high school, graduated, the whole deal. Yeah. So that we're from the same town is great. Yeah. I've had so many people on from Houston. It's great. Some just amazing artists and stuff like that. So you said north side of Houston is where what part is the north side, would you say?
Gallery Furniture. Between 45 and 59, north of 610, south of the Beltway. That was my stomping
Right.
grounds.
Which is a brand new, like, I don't know if you've been there recently, but that whole area has been absolutely
Yeah,
revamped.
especially with the
That's
whole
where,
Metro
if I'm
Rail.
right, what's that?
With the whole Metro Rail going up to Northline, yeah, it's been kind of
Yeah.
revitalized. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Frankel's was around that area. Frankel's Costume Shop was the name of it. It was a big, big warehouse, and it was right off of Scott Street.
That's kind of like Midtown, ain't it? Because also
Yeah,
Arnie's.
so
Is it Arnie's
it's
still there?
like, so like if we're talking 59 going across in front of us, like I'm coming from the south going north, so it's right before 59, and it's on this, like on Scott Street heading towards 59 on the right hand side. It's closed now, I believe. I'm not sure if they closed. Yeah, I think they did actually. The owner passed away in some kind of really traumatic manner, and then the family just kind of closed the shop down after that. Yeah, but it was I mean, I think I'm not sure. I could look it up. I think they are in Houston still, as a costume store, but I don't know that they are. I'm looking it up as a matter of fact right now to see if they're even there. I don't even know if they're still there anymore. Last time I checked, yeah, no, they're not there anymore. 2018 is when they closed. But it was an awesome shop. It was like this massive, anything you want costume shop, from medieval to Renaissance to cowboy. They had, I mean, it was, the warehouse was that. And then inside of the warehouse, in a very weird, you had to walk through some back hallways, there was a magic store. And man, I used to go there, like, you know, religiously. And some of the great magicians of Houston have worked there. One of them is named Scott Hollingsworth. And he used to work at the Magic Island. And yeah, man. So yeah, Houston's a big thing for me. I love Houston. I unfortunately, I don't want to say this in a bad way because I don't like to talk negatively about places, but Houston has a very weird arts culture. It's very weird.
It's
like
very,
the music scene.
It's very niche and very cliquish. Because in a way, yeah, I've got connections through the art and music kind of side of things, private labels. So my cousin was a DJ, on-air DJ for Kiss 98.5 or Kiss whatever it was back in the late 1900s. And so I got to go help him, you know, load his crates up. He was a mix DJ. He wasn't an on-air talent, so he'd mix or scratch live on the air for the rush hour traffic. And then I go to clubs with him. And so through that, I kind of knew some of the, like I met Destiny's Child when it was all four of them. Of course, I wasn't even into hip hop. And I was like, what the fuck are you bringing groupies for to your mom's house? Why don't you have any respect? You know, we have to deal with your girlfriends every week. Why do you have to deal with a group of groupies or whatever? They're like, no, we're a group. I'm like, okay, so now you name yourselves. And I had no idea who they were. So, yeah.
So funny, right? Yeah, it's so funny how we meet people. And when, you know, you never know. You never know when someone's going to just click off. Like I was just watching Shark Tank. And there was a woman from the Midwest who started a company for small farmers to be able to sell, whether it's chicken or meat, like cow or pig, but to do it from small farms to plate. And so she's created this amazing business. And the thing that really clicked for me on her was, at the end of her scene, she goes, you know, for a girl who's from the Midwest, who never went to college and isn't that smart, I made $3.5 million. And if I can do it, so can you. And I was just like, you know, she's kind of right. And in the world that we live in today, you know, like $1 million isn't a lot of money anymore. You know, like I have a friend of mine, his name is Ragav. And when he was 16 years old is when I met him. And this kid was making sales of $200,000 a month at 16 drop shipping. Yeah, I mean, he was an absolute phenom. The kid's a phenom. Like, he's just super smart and gets it. But he's been studying it since he was 12, and just went into it hardcore for 4 years. And at the end of 4 years, blah, and just started making stupid money. I think he's 23. He's made $10 million. Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing is, and he has a YouTube channel now, which is super cool. It's very, what's this guy's name? Alex.
Hermosi?
He owns the company Hydros.
Oh.
Not Humrosi. I know who you're talking about. I love Alex Humrosi. Alex is awesome. And the other one that I watch a lot is this woman, contrarian thinking.
Yeah.
Love her.
Cody Sanchez.
Love her. One of her great episodes is how I run my 27 companies. And I mean, she's making something like 80 million a year, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Some stupid money. So it is very possible to quote a movie, to change your stars. Yeah, I don't know if you know what movie that comes from.
It sounds familiar. I'm like, yeah. So I've had a bunch of motorcycle accidents or concussions, and so I remember things, but I don't remember. I don't connect them with things. Like I know, I love this song, but I have no idea who sings it. So it's kind of like,
wow.
And if I hear the artist, oh yeah, they play some songs that I like. So I can never make the correlation between things. So
that's intense.
I lost it. Yeah.
How so they were all through motorcycle accidents? Your hits?
Oh yeah, I've had let's see. So I went from no helmet to novelty to half to 3/4 to full. So I had at least five different major motorcycle accidents that, okay, fine, I'll wear a helmet now and I'll upgrade my helmet each time. And now my memory, I know who I was or things that I did because I was such an avid writer when I was younger. And so reading stuff that I did, kind of like journaling and diary or whatever, it's like, who the fuck is this person? Like, I don't remember doing any of this. But when I read it, I get a feeling like, oh yeah, I felt this when that happened. So I have feelings connected to times, but I don't remember doing things. So like pre-2016, most people that I know or knew are like, oh, hey, yeah, we went to high school. Cool. Yeah. Whatever. And they're like, no, we were best friends. We did this and we did that. Like, oh, okay. Cool.
Okay, so can I tell you, because you're tripping me out right now, man, can I tell you that I have had the same thing for years, but I'm not sure if it's because of trauma-induced based kind of ideology and why I block out like 99% of my past. I mean, I'm talking hardcore. Like, it's crazy. So like I'll same thing. People like, there was one guy in particular. He's a good friend of mine, and I've known him for years. And I absolutely remember the moment that he's talking about when he asked me, "Do you not remember the day you saved my life?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Yeah, bro. You like, if it wasn't for you, I had like a group of people that were trying to kick my ass, and you literally came in out of nowhere, threw me in your car, and we drove off. And if it wasn't for you, I was going to get my head bashed in." And I'm like, "What? Like, I don't remember this." You know what I mean? But it's more than that. Like, it happens to me all the time. Like, where I just don't remember things, and I'm wondering, if it's based on trauma, or if it's based on me because I got, I had a major motorcycle accident when I was 20. Internal bleeding, my bladder, small intestine, cracked both sides of my pelvis. Almost lost my left testicle. Stayed in the hospital for a month and a half. Had a mercury bag put through my through here and whatever, because my intestines had seized. So they put a mercury bag to kind of open it up back up. And yeah, man, it was intense, bro. It was not a fun experience. And I didn't get another motorcycle until 3 years ago. But like, I just spent the last 3 years traveling all over the United States, like from Houston to Key West, stayed in Miami for a year and a half. I'm now in New Orleans. I just put 15,000 miles on a motorcycle in like the last 2 years. You know?
I know about hip pain. My last major one, I separated my hip. That's where I found out the hard way that your hip is three different bones. It's the two ilia that connect to your sacrum or to your spine, and all three
Okay.
just kind of tore apart from each other in my last one. Um, so I've got bolts through my hip into my spine, and then I got like a plate on the front of my pubic bone to kind of fuse it together. So now I have a C-section scar. So I fuck with people sometimes, or well, girls that I hook up with. They're like, yeah, I'm trans, and I show them like my C-section scar. Like, wait, what? So, anyways.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, that's so good. I transitioned after I had my children.
Yeah. Like, wait, what?
Okay, so let's get back to you, if you don't mind, and
Yeah.
we'll because it's good. I don't mind. I love the fact that we're flowing, and it's great. But I want to pull back to try and tie in today's idea of what we're talking about. And so you were raised in Houston, more so north side, well, kind of like this, like northish south side of Houston, if you will, call it, right? Because it's like if you look at Houston, I think the Woodlands, like way up here, that's North Houston in my mind. You know what I mean? Like, does that, you know what I mean?
No,
Like,
I
don't
get
know.
that. It's just growing up in that area, we called it North
Intercontinental. That's for me, North Houston. You know what I mean? Like,
well, see, then that's kind of Greens Point, and then the airport. I mean, it depends wherever you're from. I mean, that's where I grew up, but I lived basically all over Houston from like 290 all the way back around to I-10. So I never lived between I-10 and 290. But everywhere else, I've lived all over there. I went to high school to South Houston for a year. I played football against Clear Lake, so I remember that area. A lot of fun little stomping grounds all over the place.
Mm-hmm. So I want to kind of like find your trajectory to where you came to here and how you got to here. So I guess since we're talking about recovery and sexual recovery, I'm guessing that that's something that was for you, something that you dealt with.
Yeah, no, totally.
So if you wanted to jump into any of that,
yeah,
what was the? Here's mine for you. Here's my good question for you is, and this might skip way ahead, but at what point did you recognize that you had a problem, but you kept going along with it anyway?
That's a common thing with addiction is like, you realize like, nah, I'm not ready yet. That was, and of course my memory is fuzzy, but this is 2010 to 2012-ish, somewhere in that range, because it was after my divorce. After my divorce from my first wife. And
you've been married how many times, if you don't mind?
Just two times.
So your first wife, and when, let's if you don't mind, let's back up all the way.
Yeah.
When did you meet your wife, and how long were you married?
I met my wife in the late 1900s.
96, 97. Yeah, because it makes it sound like 1910 or something.
Yeah, it sounds like way back in the day. But yeah, because people try to, especially other Gen Xers, like, oh my God, don't say that. It's like, fuck it, whatever. Like millennials try to make fun of us because, way back in the olden days, but whatever, I embrace it. I think it's funny. But so 96, 97-ish, I met my wife, but we were just fuck buddies back then through AOL, America Online. And I mean, it was just shooting fish in the barrel when the internet was just brand new and wide open. Because not that many people had access. The only way I can kind of correlate it now is imagine all the people that have Teslas. It's not that many. Like, there's Teslas out there, but not that many people have it. And so that was kind of the same thing with being on the internet. Only people that have Teslas had access to the internet. And of course, back then you had to dial in and everything. So you kind of had this sense of security, I guess, or people thought, okay, if you're on the internet, you at least have a computer, you have a credit card, and you're somewhat stable. You could be anything. You could pretend to be anybody else, but you have like those three criteria. And so just type in ASL, age, sex, location, and they tell you what part of town they're in. And I
remember that. I remember that. That's a Craigslist thing too. I remember the Craigslist days.
Yeah. It's similar, very similar. But instead of like misconnections and casual encounters, like you just kind of just talk to people or women, I was averaging crap, I didn't do the math, but it was just under about 400 girls a year. And not that I was meeting a girl every day. It was like I'd start talking to one girl, and like a week later we'd hook up. And there'd be another girl I started talking today, and like in 3 hours we were already banging behind the Starbucks or behind a Waffle House or whatever. So it averaged
Wow.
almost like, yeah, it was stupid easy. And that's where like my addiction didn't really start there. I got kind of triggered into it, and it's a whole scenario. Um,
Let's
I,
talk about that if you
yeah,
don't
it
mind.
is. Yeah,
Because that sounds really interesting. I want to know what was your
my
what was
trigger.
your trigger point for that to happen? Obviously, you got divorced,
Mhm.
and at that point, you're like, well, screw the world. I'm guessing, right?
Not,
You
no,
got
no, no,
hurt.
no.
You were
That's
emotionally
what got me.
bent.
No, 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 no. It was way before that. It was way before that. So,
Oh,
like I
okay.
said, I met my wife on AOL. So that was where I met her. This was before we even got married. But then I would join the army, so I didn't talk to her for a couple of years. Got out of the army, we started talking again, and then got together, trying to do the right thing, settle down, be a good guy, and whatever. But my trigger is, oh man, let's see, how far back do I go? So my senior year high school sweetheart, we were each other's first as far as sex. I've been getting head since like middle school, but I've been trying to get laid since middle school too. Like I knew I wanted to get it in with girls. I just was always afraid because my mother, she was a scary woman. Like she was only 5'2", but I would not fuck with her. Like even if she were still alive, I still wouldn't even try to fuck with her. Um, so when she gave me the story about the birds and the bees, I was just like, huh? Because she was using, the penis and vagina, and I no idea what she was talking about. And then right at the end, she like realized I just had this glossed over look on my face, and she says, "You try to put the dick in the pussy, and then you get pregnant and have kids." I was like, "Oh, that's what I want to do with girls. Okay, I know what I need to do with my dick now." And so that was kind of like the click in my head that I needed to try to do this. But when she realized that she fucked up and she gave me like, "Hey, this is what you need to do," she turned right around and said, "If a little girl loves you enough to open up her legs, that little slut better love you enough to move you in with her, because I'm not raising your kid. You are." And I'm like, shit, if I get a girl pregnant and I'm only 11, I can't get a job till I'm 16. How am I going to raise a kid? And like all this, this mental math is going through my head. Like,
You
okay.
literally went through all of these hoops in your head at 11 years old.
Oh, yeah. I was like, how do I get it in? Right. And so I started chasing after girls. Um, I was really upset at one point that some girl didn't want to date me because I gave her my pager number, my beeper number, and I told her, "Hey, call me with this code, and that means you want to be my girlfriend. That means yes." And she never replied. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, "Okay, I have money," because I was basically like a GameStop before there was a GameStop. I was buying, selling, and trading video games from pawn shops.
And
Uh,
this is at 11 and 12 years
no,
old.
this is at 8, 9, and 10. Like somewhere in elementary, I was already buying, selling, and trading games. So I was trading
While
NES
other
games.
people while other people were selling like gum and lollipops, you were like, "Yeah, I like this, but
Nobody
I'm
was
not
doing
a
that. I
video."
mean, when other kids would be doing that, I was selling video games. So I always had like 200 or 300 bucks on me, like anytime from fifth grade on to high school. So I always had money on me, and everybody thought I was a
Wow.
drug dealer because I had 100 bucks on me or whatever at any given time. Um, And so from video games, I transitioned to VHS porn tapes. And that was like stupid easy money. Like that was just, I couldn't get enough videotapes to sell, especially when you go to the bargain bins of like buy four for 20 or buy one, get five free back in the day. But anyways, I'm trying to get it in with these girls. And, at the same time, I'm afraid, I scheduled something with this girl that's kind of like a known slut, air quotes. And okay, we're going to go to this skip party. We're going to hook up. And the day before the party, or, just before, whatever, some guy like, "Hey man, did you hear about Jose and Susie? Yeah, they hooked up and they wore a condom and now she's pregnant." Like they only had sex one time, wore a condom, and she's pregnant. So then I freaked myself out and wouldn't do anything. And because I was like the oldest child, or the one of the older kids on my block, and my block was a dead end street, and there was no internet back then, there was a lot of stuff that I didn't know. I didn't learn about things. So I'd get offered, "Well, if you don't want to have sex, you want to get head." I'm like, "Oh no, I'm okay." Because for whatever reason, I thought they were just going to bite the head of my dick. No idea why I made that correlation, but I thought I don't want the head of my bit dick. So I don't want them to bite it or anything. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but leave it alone. And it wasn't until probably it was before high school. So I want to say eighth grade. A girl finally said, "Do you want me to suck your dick?" Like, "Oh yeah, I definitely want that." Yeah, let's do that. So then from 8th grade to my senior year, I was only getting head. And finger banging girls, making out
Because
with them.
that was a way of not getting your girl pregnant for you. You were
Exactly.
like, "Dad, I can do this and not get her pregnant."
All day. And so that was kind of like but I still wanted to get it in. Like I still wanted to know what sex was.
Sure.
Started dating with this girl my senior year. I'd known her since freshman year, but when mom passed away, I went to go with my father, went to South Houston for a year, ran away from home, started living by myself because I knew how to make money, knew how to hustle. So
Mm-hmm.
stayed on my own at 17, even though it wasn't emancipated, just on my own or crashing with an aunt, crashing with some friends, kind of bouncing around all over the place whenever I ran out of money.
Sure.
And we were together a whole senior year. We didn't hook up until right around Thanksgiving break of our senior year. We graduate, and I was supposed to go to the Army. She was supposed to go to college. She had a scholarship. And so instead, I went to college, and she started working at the mall. And I'd go pick her up on dates on the weekend because I was too busy with college, during the week. And in high school, we would write each other notes inside of this little notebook. So instead of passing notes, we just passed a notebook to each other so it wouldn't seem so obvious. And early on, it was stupid shit like, hey, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite music? What's your favorite band? And eventually kind of got deeper into things like, what do we like? How many kids we want to have? What do we want to name them? What part of town or where we want to move to, whatever. And so it's kind of really deep. And one day there was a notebook in the floorboard of my truck. So I go and read it. And it's like, oh, future Mr. and Mrs. Gallo. I can't wait to have, your kids, and then we're going to name them this and that and all lovey-dovey shit. And then it starts getting darker and darker and darker. And then finally it says, how can something so wrong feel so right? And like my heart sank. I was like, fuck, she's cheating on me. And so I ignored her for the whole week. Next Friday, I go to pick her up and I accuse her, hey, are you cheating on me? And she turns around and just kind of scoffs and says, yeah, I'm cheating on you. And I literally thought about murdering her and her whole family. Like, how can I kill everybody here and get away with it? But
oh my God.
Oh yeah, I was ready. Fuck it. Like, yeah, Texas death penalty, didn't care. I was trying to, how can I kill everybody in this house and get away with it? Because that's the only way I'm gonna get away from it, get away free with it. Because
I mean,
really,
that was this is your trigger point that we were talking about.
Totally.
This is your moment, bro. This is the thing that absolutely was your defining, and you were like, oh, really? Well, in that case,
that was my villain origin story. Like right then and there, I was like ready to kill her. If we were alone, I would have. Because just one, for the scoff, and two, like she didn't care. Like, we were each other's first, and here you are admitting that you're cheating on me.
Hey, did you ever? I want to know. Did you ever talk to her again? Have you spoken to her since?
We've talked since.
And have you guys? Did she come to terms with it and ask you for forgiveness and the whole deal? And I mean, come on, bro. This is a pretty heavy story.
It is, but it's not going the way you're going to think. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not going to kill her. I'm going to fuck her friends, her family members, her coworkers, anybody she knows, and throw it in her face. I'm going to fuck 100 women and throw it in her face. That was like my mental goal. So that's when I get on AOL. I'm in college, so I have access to computers. I'm talking to girls in college because at first I was like, oh, no, I'm engaged. I'm dating this girl. No, I'm cool. Now I'm fucking in everything that moves, right? This goes on for like a year, and we're still talking, we're still dating, but I hide it. I try to hide it from her so that way I can just throw it all in her face. And I was keeping tabs, like, okay, so-and-so on this date. So this is how I remember roughly how many girls. And eventually just became screen names and a point system. A point for hooking up or half a point for just getting head.
Fuck, Gallo. Dude, you are fucking with my heart right now. So, girl cheats on you. Mm-hmm. And you don't break up with her. Instead, you now go on a tirade mission. And not only that, but you're writing down the names and then giving it a point score. Yes, dude. Keep going. I want to hear more.
So, wow. Half a point if I only got head or if I got sex after 24 hours or meeting the girl. And 1 full point if it's sex within 24 hours of first contact. So it had this whole list going on, just like mostly screen names or brunette from Willowbrook Mall at Claire's Boutique or whatever, like whatever store it was from, just kind of little information on like, okay, this is who this girl is. I don't remember her name, but this is where I met her, or
Right.
whatever, or at this dance club. And then of course my cousin's a DJ, so I'm going to clubs at 18 that are 21 and up. No
Right.
X's on my hands. I'm hanging out in the DJ booth. He goes to the restroom. I'll transition for him a song or two. And so girls like, oh shit, he's a DJ too. So yeah, that's, I'm getting pussy left and right. Meet this one girl that she was kind of in the lifestyle or a swinger. And
Sure.
she loved to see me with other women. Like that was her thing. And she was the best wing person ever. She'd be like, oh yeah, that girl would look so hot on her knees in front of you. And she'd walk off and she'd either come back with the girl.
And she would bring the girl to you.
She'd bring it to me. Yeah. Or she'd come back like, hey, I got her phone number. She's got to go see her boyfriend, but she'll meet us tonight or tomorrow or whatever. And like, sure, whatever, go for it.
Do you want to tell us this girl's name?
I don't remember. I remember her screen name. I know it's Mandy, so I guess short for Amanda, and it's Me Be Sweet One is what I remember. I don't know. Like phonetically, it could be like leet speak. It could be like M3, like threes instead of E's or whatever. Like I just remember it's Me Be Sweet One. And met her about the same time that I met my first wife too. Like it was all through AOL. And me and Mandy were having threesomes left and right. Almost got shot by a Texas State trooper because of Mandy. That's a whole other thing. That's on my podcast. Unicorn, my favorite unicorn and Unicorn Lost. That's like the whole in-depth story. So from there, go to the Army, like just get tired of trying to get things going on with the fiance, kind of like on and off again, trying to get back together, and go to the Army, forget the ex-fiance, get out of the Army after 9/11 and start dating my then wife. And like, okay, I need to settle down. Like I had my fun. I did all my
stuff. Hold on. Ex-fiance. Sorry, Gallo. Ex-fiance was the girl from high school that cheated on you.
Correct.
And so I want the end of the story. Did you end up paper in hand? Did you end up at one point or another going up to the girl and being like, and by the way, we've been together for the last 8 months and I fucked 322 girls. Here they are. And here's my point system. Fuck you. I'm out. Did you do that?
I didn't get around to it because I was going to do it when the game plan was to do it. She said she was going to fly out to see me when I graduated AIT, my school for the military. So I was going to throw it in her face then. But during basic, she left me for another guy. And I was like, well, shit, there goes that. And so I had the sheet. I just kind of ended up keeping the sheets of all the names and whatever.
Right.
And mostly because to keep track, okay, man, I hit 1,000 on January 2nd, 2000. However,
so do you absolutely know the number? I mean, I don't want to know your body count, but is it way past like thousands?
Yeah, I hit so I had 1,000 points on January 2nd, 2000. But keep in mind,
but that's 1,000 points. That's not full sexual always, right? Like from what you said, right?
It's probably
but still, let's say half of that is having sex. You over 500 some odd people at the very least. Let's move on.
Yeah. So roughly about 500. So I at that point I thought, oh yeah, I hit 1,000 women, and that was my 1,000. That's it. I'm good. And then years later, I realized, wait a minute, I did half points, and some women were sex, but they were half points because they were after 24 hours. So I'm like, shit, what's my number? I don't know. I have no idea, but I know it's over 1,000 now. Remember, this was 20 years ago when I hit 1,000 points. So yeah, we didn't get to like talk or have any kind of closure there. I get married. I settled down. Like, okay, I'm gonna be good. I got that out of my system. I was young and dumb. Even though I was kind of raised that the more women you're with, the more of a man you are, because just Latino culture, machismo. And so that was kind of the all that kind of stuff kind of was a perfect storm to make me into a intercourse addict. So I got married. So I got married to my wife, and I told her, like, hey, look, I'm going to have sex every day for the rest of my life. If you want to be part of it, there's no excuse. Like, if you get mad, that's not an excuse. I'm using studies like, hey, sex releases endorphins. That's going to calm you down and make you be in a better mood. You're having cramps. Sex helps with this. Every excuse that women usually have for not having sex, are debunked by
There's
science.
a reason why it's actually good for them, right?
Exactly. There's no, even when you're pregnant, having sex makes it easier for you to birth through the birthing canal, keeping the birthing canal open. So
Yep.
literally zero excuse to not have sex. And if you're not in the mood, you got a mouth and you got an asshole. So I don't want to hear no ever. And she's like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. And she thought I was joking that I'm going to have sex every day. And so it'd be a vicious cycle. We wouldn't have sex for 2 days. Fine. I'll go pick up some other girl. It's not that hard to get laid. And so,
wow.
I'd hook up with another woman from wherever.
So my question for you is this now, Gallo, did you just have a natural ability over time to being able to pick up women and have like a PUA kind of mentality, or did you study any of the literature that's out there? As you know, I'm having, as a matter of fact, Ross Jeffries on. I believe he's on tomorrow. And Ross Jeffries is the guy that wrote the book on seduction before The Game by Neil Strauss came out, and before Mystery, who's very famous for being a pickup artist. The fundamental real stuff all comes from Ross Jeffries. And so, yeah, I wonder if that was something that you went through that literature, or you were just you just understood game very well.
I understood.
That's my thing. Yeah.
So it's part of it was understanding game. Part of it is when, like I said, when that girl didn't respond to my text or my pager to be my girlfriend, like I cried that day. I was 11 or 12, cried my eyes out. And, it was a bunch of other things. Like I didn't get invited to a birthday party. One of my cousins didn't pick me up to go take me to the mall with them or something. So it was like a little perfect storm of teenage angst and, oh, woe is me, everybody hates me. And at that moment I said, A, I'm never going to cry for a girl again. And B, I'm going to make that girl wish that she had a boyfriend like me. So it was a bunch of things, and understanding psychology, even though I don't know the terms. And even with like being in BDSM or the kink community, there's things I didn't know the terms for until the pandemic, where I'm like, oh, that's what that's called, aftercare. Okay, I take care of my submissive after we have a scene, but that's what that's called. Okay, so there's things that I do that I didn't realize there's terms for or whatever.
And you were just doing them naturally.
Because it just
so
seems,
that's my question. So I lead back to that same question. It just came from practice?
Not
really. It just came from being with so many people?
A little of that, like it's practice, but then also growing up, I didn't listen to 70s and 80s pop music in English growing up. I was raised with Spanish love ballads. My mom would listen to ballads from, all the great balladeers from Latin America and Spain. And so all of the songs essentially are either, I love you so much, I can't wait to be with you. I miss you, I got to have you. So you wanted me, but now I wanted you, but you didn't want me because I'm poor, because I'm ugly or whatever. Now look at me now, I'm doing great. Fuck you, fuck off. Or there's a song that's literally the guy telling his wife, why are you complaining about me and my side piece? Like, you act like a cunt, she doesn't. So she's my side piece, deal with it. Like, it's kind of like those three main themes is machismo. Like, women are here for my will and pleasure, period. Like that was how I saw women. They're just here for toys.
So now I have a question. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Say that again. Please say that again.
Oh yeah. So, I firmly believe for a long time that women are here for my pleasure. Like they're just my fuck toys. They're my fuck dolls, period. And if she says no, there's thousands that'll say yes. Right.
So that leads to my next question, because it's a very opposite from what you just said. And what I mean by that is I feel like I've had sexual addiction and sexual issues in my life where I've gone and done things in sexual manners where I'm thinking about it's the addiction mentality, 1,000%. And you're not supposed to do it. 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 It doesn't seem like there's ever a place where you hit the ground, and I've even caught myself even in the past, let's say week or 2 weeks or month or whatever, where I will get caught in a cycle of attempting to find a sexual partner and then playing with myself and then not even wanting to do any of it. So in other words, like, oh, okay, I already played with myself. I released. I'm done. So I wasn't really even wanting to be with a person. It was just, I need release. I'm lonely. I want someone to touch me other than myself. Come here. But now that goes massively against the idea of aftercare, in the sense that in the mentality of a user, of somebody who's using a drug, and we're calling the human being a drug at this at this time, you don't care about the drug, right? You only care about what it gives you. And so the fact that you were doing aftercare brings to me that internally you knew that there was something wrong the entire time, and that you were trying to know. So then, then I need an answer. Why the aftercare, if it was just a quote unquote wet rag or a toy for you to play with? I'm just being as real and honest as possible.
I get that. I get that. And so, I love this, but we can kind of dive deeper. So, and again, this is me and my personality pre-2012. So me being this
prior
utter
to all the
asshole.
accident.
Yeah. Well, the accident was 2016, or the last major one, but 2012 was when I got divorced and kind of came to the realization that I'm an intercourse addict. But before that, like, that's it, period. Women are just, toys to use. But you don't just break your toys. You want to play with them again if it's your favorite toy. So because growing up, I grew up poor, and the only way I had money was being a hustler. Like, I saw people as toys because I only had 7 or 8, toys growing up. I had a He-Man, a Rambo figurine, a construction set thing that they don't even make anymore. I don't even know what it was, but thrift store toys that we could barely afford. So what I would do for my own amusement is, hey, John, your girlfriend Susie, she's talking to Marco. I saw them behind the gym the other day, and I don't know if they were going to make out, but it looked like they were going to. Then I go talk to Susie. Hey, Susie, John is talking to Maria. And I would just instigate shit just to sit back and watch.
You were just into manipulation
since elementary because I had
that
nothing
was
else.
your thing. That was your thing. So now, okay, here let's pull back, because now I want to know what's the trigger point for manipulation. So what that means to me is,
I was just bored.
Sorry, Gallo, I think it's more than that, me personally, and I want to dig deep. So I want to. Here's the question I want to know is, where did you see the behavior prior to doing
it? Probably soap operas, Mexican soap operas, or even English ones.
Wow. So, okay, hold on. Your nature nurture of your mother's style of music, plus the style of TV that you were watching, plus this weird conversation that your mom had with you about the penis and the vagina, which kind of sent you off. You add all of those together, and then that's sort of kind of how this thing starts to form itself.
Well, the manipulation was prior to the whole sex thing. Before I realized I like girls, I was manipulating people way before that. This is like first, second grade. Because
I mean, children manipulate in general, right? Because they want to see how far they can break the line of control.
Yeah, and usually it's for their own personal gain, though. It's usually they want a candy, they want a toy, so they try to figure out ways to manipulate. But again, these were just toys with other classmates because I wasn't smart. I'm not a smart person. I just had a very good memory recall. So I would pass all my classes, or in elementary, I mean, I'd get 90 plus on every test, and I couldn't get why nobody else couldn't pass their class. I mean, we just talked about this 4 days ago. We talked about this last week. How do you not remember what the teacher told us? So I would sit class just bored, looking out the window, and get in trouble for doing stupid things and playing in class. So I'd get in trouble for all the little things that I would do to entertain myself. It's like, okay, I get in trouble for playing by myself, but if I play with others and use them as my toys, as marionettes, then I don't.
Then I'm not gonna. Right.
Exactly. It's all about self-preservation. It's all about like, what can I do to entertain myself because this fucking teacher's boring. I'm not doing anything in here. I already know what's going to happen. I already know this. I already know that. What can I do to kind of just learn? So manipulation was kind of growing up. Then I started being interested in girls. Then I started having sex or getting head and all this other stuff. So it's all these little things that came together. So I understand manipulation. And it's funny, the whole pickup artist thing. It's amusing to me in the sense that they're picking like what works to get to girls, to talk to girls and get them to say yes to have sex, but they don't build their character. They don't have anything internally to be able to maintain a conversation and keep those girls interested. Like, you have sex with them, and then if you're not good, they're not going to see you again. If you are,
this is funny that you're mentioning this, because when I was speaking with Ross Jeffries on the phone to get him to be on the show, and after I watched him on a podcast recently with somebody else, that was exactly his point. When the people who were having the interview with him, they were really pushing that he was negative and that he's using manipulation and he's doing all of these negative things to people and forcing them to be sexually turned on using words. And I'm like, well, yeah, come on, man. Like, it's almost as if you're saying that somebody with the right, and yes, I'm going to say yes to this, but I'm also going to say way no, but somebody with the right words and the right pattern and the right form can get you to do whatever they want you to do. And the answer is yes, but also very much no, because you still have the choice in the end. Yeah. In the end, if you're doing, and I wouldn't want to even call it PUA, I just want to call it social manipulation. And I don't mean that in a bad way, in any way, shape, or form. I mean that like, I'm on stage, I'm performing a show, I'm socially manipulating. I'm in a small group with 3 or 4 people, and all of a sudden 25 people from the rest of the party show up. I'm socially manipulating. Like, that is my job as an artist. That's what I've trained myself to do. I studied all the books. I studied How to Win Friends and Influence People, all of the books, which is why I'm bringing these guys on, because they are my gods on some level. I mean, when you were 10 and 11 years old, I'm sitting at 10 and 11 years old in a room by myself with no friends. Like, I had no friends whatsoever. From like 10 to 14, I had 2. And I still know those same 2 people to this day. But I would literally sit in a room and just practice magic, listen to weird albums that people at 11 years old, what are you doing, bro? Like, I'm listening to, like, I don't know, weird stuff that was from like the 1930s and 40s. Like, I'm listening to Glenn Miller. I'm listening to, jazz, weird stuff that like 11-year-old, like, and we're thinking 1986, let's say, like, that's the last thing that kid's going to be wanting to I'm into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Transformers. That's, Star Wars. But my music side of me was massively eclectic. Like, I mean, I had stuff like the greatest hits of the Police. Then I had the greatest hits of Queen, and then Led Zeppelin. And then, it would go into stuff like, I don't know, Jello Biafra, and listening to the Dead Kennedys. So it was full on, like, all over the place. And I would just sit in a room and listen to music and practice magic tricks and do science experiments and just by myself, And I didn't have sex till I was 20. And I was one of those, like, I'm going to be like, blah, 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 I'm going to wait for me. I'm going to find my love. And then I met this 30-year-old woman who deflowered me, and we stayed together for like 2.5 months. And I, at 19, 20, thought that we were going to get married. Like, I was so in. I was okay. In the same way that you were with your girl that you love so much, and and then the whole time I was her side piece while she was lying to the guy that she was married to, but like they did it for papers. She needed money. I don't know the story. Whatever happened in her life. But the point is that, yeah, I got thrown away. And in that same period of time, I had a friend of mine that lived 4 doors down, and his dad was a teacher for Miami-Dade, and he was a science teacher. And mind you, I was hypnosis since like 13, studied at 10, but really started getting into hypnosis around 13, 14, 15. And so I'm like 4 years later, I'm 19 years old. I'm still into it. And, I'm not trained by anybody. I just read all the books myself and watched whatever I could. This guy says, oh, I know how to do hypnosis. And he hypnotizes me and molests me while I'm hypnotized. And so that period of my life is a full on, like, talk about fracturing me in like a bunch of different directions. And then a year later, I had my motorcycle accident. So yeah, just a lot of weird fracturing moments that you would say are kind of pivotal and hit you in a certain way, somewhat like what you're talking about. Like, I remember the pain of losing somebody that doesn't want to be with you after they were with you, and that feeling. They say there's the opposite of love is not hate; it's indifference. Man, when someone's indifferent to you, that destroys, bro. I mean, it absolutely destroys. It's like, well, hi, hey, fucking hate you. You're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Bro, it drives people nuts. You know what I mean? So, okay, so now because we've been jumping a little bit all over the place, but we're now at because this kind of went for one question, which was, what was the moment that you recognized that you had a problem and you kept continuing? So I don't think at 11 you realized you had a problem. I don't think after. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it wasn't until my divorce from my first wife we got separated, because with her, like, she stayed true to me, like, all the way up until like the last 6 months, and then she cheated on me. Like, fuck this bitch. And it wasn't even hurt that she cheated on me. It was more of just the idea. I was like, she's this good woman. She's not going to cheat on me. She really not just loved me, but loved the sex. And I hate to toot my own horn, but I still have partners that I've been or seen that are over 20 years, because they rank me as their top 5, like not top 5%.
Well, I mean, you had a lot of practice, Gajo.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
you would hope that you're pretty good at it by now.
Yeah, I should be.
I mean, you hope.
And so with the ex-wife, I was just kind of like, damn, like, what is it that she sees in this guy? But it was because he was a guy that she knew from like elementary, middle school, and it was always like never the right time for them, but they weren't really sure about it, and blah, blah, blah. And she finally got tired of my shit of cheating on her all the time. And I'm talking like she only knew maybe a tenth of what I did. And I wouldn't get in trouble because I'd come home smelling like another woman or have lipstick on me. Like, I had the decency to not bring it home. That was kind of like what I was raised with, is if you're going to do your shit on the side, don't bring it home. However, these other women will call me or text me like, hey, I want to see you again. And, I don't recognize the number. I answer in front of my wife, or my wife picks up my phone. Like, why do you have like 17 missed calls from this random number? Or why do you have, 12 missed calls from Pizza Hut or whatever, So eventually I had to get better and better at hiding it. And eventually I was like, okay, fine. I'm going to settle down. I'm going to be good with her. We're going to get this right. And she just got tired of it. Didn't want to be together. So we got divorced. Even then, that wasn't my down point. I went ahead and was a slut. I was like, fuck it. Now I have nobody to stop me. I made friends with this woman, and we ended up we hooked up a few times, but I was like, you know what? For some reason, I like this girl. I just want to be friends with her. So I stopped having sex with her. I kind of fucked with her mind a little bit because I didn't tell her why. I just stopped. And so she thought that she did something wrong or whatever. So she was being extra nice and trying to people please me.
Yeah, sure. Because at that point you're doing the indifferent thing. So now she's chasing.
Well,
sure.
No, I wasn't being indifferent. I just didn't have sex with her. Like, we hung out, we did things together, and she was just kind of like, why aren't we having sex? I was like, oh,
no, okay, that's indifferent towards her.
Well, yeah, indifferent sexually towards her. Yeah.
And sexual. Yeah. So what is she going to do? As soon as you pull away the dick, no offense, but she's then going to chase towards it because it was the thing the reason for her connection to you. And so when you were like, I just want to be friends, she's like, what do you mean you want to be friends? Oh, I need I need it.
Right. And so
Sorry.
No, it kind of went like that. And even now she's like, hey, she was mad that she didn't know the last time was the last time. So she still kind of like throws, hey, we can do it one more time. Even though she's married now, she'll like, hey, she hints at it now, but before she got married, she would just straight up say, hey, I want to have one last time with you. But when we were at that point of being friends, I didn't realize that she has a problem with people pleasing. She has a love addiction where she's addicted to the idea of love and being in love and being in a relationship. And so she was going to Celebrate Recovery. And so because I wanted to hang out with her and our schedules were kind of weird, she was a hairdresser.
You
so
started going to the recovery with her.
Exactly. Because she's such a people pleaser that they would get her to help clean up. So she wouldn't be able to hang out until like 10 o'clock at night. And I'm like, look, I gotta be up by like noon. And if I go hang out with you from like 10 to 2 in the morning, then I get home at 3, I don't get enough sleep, blah, blah, blah. So I started going with her. So that way, as soon as the thing was over, hey, we got to go, we're gonna go catch a 9 o'clock movie. And she can't stay and help because I was the one that was assertive enough to be able to do that and pull her away. So while going to these Celebrate Recovery meetings, this guy tells his testimony about being a drug addict. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, whatever. And I pretended to be a porn addict when I was going to Celebrate Recovery because that's the only thing that kind of sick because I had a disdain for drug users. Like before I realized I was an intercourse addict, I was like, if you use drugs, you are weak. Like if you're a drug addict, you're weak. Even if you need medication, I saw medication as a weakness because growing up, I was always in that 90th percentile of being the tallest and largest kid in my age group. Like I would often get mistaken for being 2 to 4 years older than what I was. And all the other kids the same age as me are like tiny and small and frail. And they would think they're like a year or two younger. And I knew they had medical issues at the time. I don't know what it was, but they would take medication or vitamins or whatever. And they were still, weak and frail and would get sick all the time. So in my mind, any type of medication, any type of drugs is weakness. If you need it, you're weak, period. You're just,
So you've never been a drug addict. Have you been a drinker?
Not really. I was a drinker when my wife passed away. And then I tried to be a drinker and I was like, because I didn't want to fall back into being a sex addict. But, so that's just kind of like.
So trying to take one addiction for the other. And you were like, okay, screw it. I'll just drink instead of having sex.
And it didn't work. But, so I realized that I'm an intercourse addict. I have this block of like, I don't even want to be associated with drug addiction or even drinking because I would drink socially, but I would rarely drink to get drunk. And other than like my 21st birthday and maybe 2 or 3 New Year's parties or major parties, I got drunk. Sure. So
yeah, sort of like me. I'll have like a drink maybe 6 to 7 times a year out of a year. And that's literally a shot. Like I'm with some friends. Oh, we're at a bar. Hey, come on, Paul, you have to. I'm like, come on, don't make me. And they're, all right, come on, have a drink. All right, fuck off. Get me a shot of rum and I'll take a Coke. And I'm sitting there with the Coke anyways all night. And I just take the shot real quick so they shut up. But that's a very rare occasion for me. And it's, maybe New Year's or maybe like a birthday party or whatever. Oh, here's my friend. This is so great. Because this is the one time I actually get drunk. And he's here to actually be like, yeah, remember the time you got drunk with me, buddy? Because it was so funny. I remember Joe Serrato is an amazing guy, a musician out of Houston. And I wanted to be his friend. This is years and years ago. So I was like, yeah, let's hang out. And he's like, yeah, I'm at this bar. Come over. And so I go over, and we don't know each other very well at the time. And I'm doing card tricks and we're having a great time together. And he's just popping drinks to me. And somewhere that night, I decided to go on Facebook and said, oh, God, I remember this so well. It's something to the effect of, I meant it differently than it comes out, okay? Let's just put that out there. And I said, I want to thank all the women that have let me penetrate them in their heart and their soul or something to that effect. And everybody's like, you fucking sick fuck. Oh man, it was so good. So good. And yeah, man. So there's he's laughing. And then we got another Corey, he's in Cancun right now. He's saying 420 friends. I agree. I like the 420. Okay, so let's get back. You've been divorced.
Mhm.
You're now remarried. Now, is the second girl? No.
Well, so yeah, the recovery parts. That's where I kind of came to the realization.
Yeah. Sorry.
So I started going to sub recovery. Went to the porn addicts group, and finally, this guy gave his testimony, and he says, I started doing drugs, and because I had a bad day, I felt bad, I wanted to feel better, and all of his reasons for getting over not getting a promotion, or someone talked down to him, and it just kind of goes all to mental health. And at the time, I was just internalizing, just holding it in. Fuck it. I'm not gonna deal with it. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't affect me, but it did, because that would be my motivation to go out and get laid. And it didn't even matter who it was. Like, and in my addiction, it's not like I banged all these hot women. A good
no,
fat and ugly.
Oh no, it gets to a point where you just like, it's weird. It's weird, bro.
Oh yeah,
it's horrible and it's weird. It's I heard Anthony Bourdain say when he had was doing an interview about his days of being a drug addict. And his line was, I was a garbage can drug addict. I literally cared not what you gave me, just as long as I got fucked up. And there's in that sexual addiction thing, it's the same thing. Like, you end up connecting and just being, and like I said, you're not supposed to, you're not supposed to, you're not supposed to, you're not supposed to, but for some weird, maybe you haven't dealt with your trauma yet. I don't know, whatever it is, but it's there, right? And then, bro, it just rears its ugly head up. And it's not until you're done with the process of actually getting through, of meeting the people, of writing the letter, of or going to the place, or spending the money on an escort, or whatever issue that you're dealing with. It's not until you're done and you walk away that the moment hits. And then you're like, oh, I did the thing again. But prior to that, you never, at least me, I don't have that thought prior to that. Like, and know that it's not supposed to happen. I know I'm not supposed to do it, right? But the feeling, or maybe the thought of it, doesn't sink in until after the fact. It's the same thing when I watch porn. Like, I watch porn and I'm like totally into it. And then as soon as I'm done, I go, oh, I feel bad. This is a weird thing, but I've been doing it for years. I feel bad for myself and I feel bad for the girl.
Yeah.
But there's a reason for it. I know a ton of people in the porn industry. And I only know one person that I would say is living a semi-healthy life. And I say semi-healthy because he's doing porn for work. That's the only reason I would say that's the unhealthy part. But everything else in his life is absolutely healthy. Has a relationship with the woman that he's had for, like, I think 8 years now. They got married. She's a porn actress as well, but whatever. But he got off of drugs. He's super healthy. He's working out. He eats really well. So everything else in his life is absolutely clean and great. Now, say whatever you want about having lots of partners and lots of other things. You can do whatever you want with your life. I don't care. But I personally believe that having many partners is not the most positive thing, net positive in the long run for relationship creation, foundation, holding, all of it. It's just not healthy in the long run. Can it be done? Sure. Are there relationships that are out there that are healthy on some level that are doing it? Yeah. Is that everybody? Most people don't have the intellectual and emotional clarity to have an open relationship with somebody else, because somewhere along the way they hold and they don't talk. And that miscommunication destroys everything. So let's go back. You're now at, I realize I have an addiction problem. I've gone to this meeting. I realize on some weird level, and maybe I'm wrong, but catch me if I'm right, drug addiction and sexual addiction are starting to have a 1-in-1 play, because he said, I use drugs to feel better. And you were like, oh, fuck, I have sex to feel better. And that was your moment. Okay.
That was my moment.
So now let's move forward. Yeah.
And so, but to go back a second is, how you were saying about basically having guilt afterwards. I never had a guilty conscience about what I did or who I did it with. Like, I always felt like I deserve to have pleasure. Like, I deserve everything I get. I deserve good or bad. That's my life. I made the choice. So it wasn't, oh, I can't believe I did that. No, it was like, well, at least I can, check that off the list. Like, I always try to frame it in a positive, yeah, I've, had a old fat midget. Okay. I had a clown Blasian. Perfect. So it was never, ew, I can't believe I did that. I've done so much fucked up shit that, like, it's like, whatever. It's not even.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm not trying to laugh at you.
No,
when you just said I had a clown midget, that's too. I'm sorry, bro, because I'm not trying to laugh at your pain, but that's fucking hilarious. I had a clown midget.
Yeah, like, whatever. I had some coffee this morning. I've done really almost anything you can think of that's been on porn. I've done a lot of it, particularly stuff that you would have seen on kink.com when it was still around at the Arsenal.
So what you're saying is, like, you were into extreme gangbang. Were you into gangbanging? Like, did you enjoy being one woman and then having one woman be with a lot of men in front of you? I don't know. I'm asking.
No, I preferred more women in me, like me being the only male and multiple women there, because that was what kind of got brought into me with Mandy. Like, she loved seeing me with other women. And I had, for a year and a half, I had threesomes and foursomes plus, 2+ women Thursday through Sunday
reverse
night
gangbangs, as they're called.
I've had a few, reverse gangbangs, but reverse gangbangs I think is 5+, and most of them were 2 to 4 women.
Yeah, listen, anything more than one woman. Anything more than one woman and you. I'm sorry, bro. That's a gangbang.
Okay. Well, my favorite is 3. I prefer 3.
You want to call it a double or whatever. Listen, more than one person in the room. That's it. But yeah, so that was more. But you did go the other way as well. You did have, like, situations where you were in a gangbang or.
Mm-hmm. I was the bull for a couple of couples or several couples where I'd come in, the guy would watch. He'd either be a cuck or we'd have threesomes with his girlfriend or wife. So yeah, just anything that didn't involve penetration in me, I was down for, willing to try a couple of times. And I was like, okay, that's not my thing. I don't like it. So
Joe came in and he says, "You lucky bastard." And Joe, I'm going to look at the camera. Maybe it feels that way on some level, but I'm sure that we're about to get to the story where all of it actually is the detriment to his life. So I guess we're moving into that part now. So let's go into it, Gallo. What is the point that becomes your, as they say, what's
moment
the
of clarity?
Not just moment of clarity, your moment of being on the ground, the moment where you hit, where I was saying, it feels like there's no end, and then all of a sudden you go, bam, and you're like, oh god.
That was
what was
being
that
homeless. That was going out and ended up being homeless around that time. So part of the divorce decree was I was going to let her keep the house, but she was going to pay off my truck. And so I was checking every month. Was it paid? And she paid for the first 4, 5, 6 months, whatever it was. After I came in a relation that was a porn addict, I'd stop checking because, like, okay, I'm going to start trusting her. We're civil to each other. We're talking. I took a job down in the Rio Grande Valley, which is a Texas-Mexican border. And got my truck repoed. I thought at the time it got stolen. So I go report it stolen, and then I get arrested because it's a false report, because they can check real quick, check the license plate and realize, oh, it was towed. So they thought I was trying to do like an insurance scam, get arrested. Then I get released. Charges end up getting dropped. But because I lost the truck, I lost my tools, lost a bunch of stuff, was in jail for a couple of days. I was a no-call, no-show for the job that I was at down south. So lost my job, lost my truck, lost my tools outside of my own home city. So all I had on me was basically my wallet and my room, because we were getting paid per diem. So I paid the room for the week. And I think I had like 2 or 3 days left to stay in the hotel. and I'm just staying in the room because like fuck, I can't afford to pay for anything. I technically could. I could have paid another week, but I was like, I'm down to like my last 300 and change. Like I need to figure something out. And whatever reason, I just kept spinning my wheels, like trying to come up with something to figure out a way to not get kicked out and make my way back home to Houston, even though I didn't really have a place because I was working out of town for so long. I let my lease go, or cancel my lease, and ended up on the streets. Because
but inside your car, you had a truck, or the truck was not paid for?
The truck was repoed. The truck was repoed. So because the truck was repoed, I reported it stolen because I thought it was stolen. So I had no truck. I had no way to do. All I had was clothes on my back, a duffel bag, and my wallet. And so I was homeless for a couple of months. And here's
now, question: do you feel that your sexual addiction stopped you from making money and surviving on your own? Do you feel like your addiction is what brought you to the street in the end?
Because if I wasn't addicted, if I wasn't an intercourse addict, I would probably still be with my first wife. I wouldn't have fucked that relationship up. We probably would have still had various marital problems. Like most of it was just random stuff of fuck, I don't even know. Because our biggest problem was me cheating. We rarely had any other arguments other than me cheating. So I don't know. And I could probably text my ex-wife and ask her, if there's anything else, but it's not like we're that conversation.
And she's married now. Your ex is now married with somebody else.
No. She had a relationship and then now she's single still.
And what about you?
We'll get to that. I'll explain it more.
Okay, no problem. So you're homeless. You're in the street. Nothing but a bag and your wallet, and that's it. And Joe came back and he says, "How did you heal, or are you still healing?"
So I healed through basically Celebrate Recovery, but that was a struggle in itself before I even got back inside to be able to go to Celebrate Recovery. Because when I was homeless, when I was outside, finally I'm like, shit, okay, I got to be out here. And I ran out of my money because I was spending it to eat and whatnot. And around that time is when they started being where you could use your debit card to put cash in at an ATM. So luckily I have that was going to help me get back on my feet. But while I was out there, I thought the most humiliating thing was having to write a sign and hold that sign up and asking for money. Like that was a first, or I guess a second breaking point. They're like, fuck. Right. And, eventually down south in Texas, super hot, super humid. You smell bad, you smell like shit. And, eventually there's a point to where I'm not even allowed to go into convenience stores to buy food or use the restroom. Right. So the next splat is having to go take a shit outside. That was like the worst, and having to tear off part of my shirt to be able to wipe because I didn't think, I need to buy TP to be able to shit outside. Like it just didn't dawn on me until later. And so that was just like, fuck, I need to get out of this. So all the money that I hustled and made, the bills I would go deposit in my bank, and then the change I would use to get food, made some friends with people that were outside, and started crashing with this guy that basically stayed in a shell of a house that was his, but he didn't pay taxes on it because he inherited it, and he didn't know. He was a very sheltered guy. So he didn't know he had to pay taxes or anything. So he was just waiting to get evicted essentially. But we had a house kind of like to shell and stay in. So got all my stuff together, finally had enough money to get my head out of my ass. It's like that $300, I could have gotten a bus ticket home and couch surfed with some friends till I got back on my feet to be able to get a job. So anyways, that, and part of me coming back inside. So me ended up being homeless was because of my intercourse addiction, because I cheated on my wife and just a series of events that led me to be there. But then also me wanting to get laid drove me to not want to stay outside because I didn't want to drink. I didn't want to do any drugs.
Wow.
And
so it wasn't just it wasn't just your addiction that got you there. It was your addiction that's now pulling you back out because it's the only thing you know. And this goes into that resolve of for the many times in life when you are quote unquote damaged. And when I say that, I'm saying hurt people. You don't have the right, and I'm pointing at myself, you don't have the right skill sets or tools to find a new way.
Mhm.
And so what do? We end up going right back to the same behaviors that we knew, only because we haven't learned any new ones. And
Mhm.
so the same behavior that got you into the hole is the same behavior that starts getting you out of the hole just because you want to get laid.
Yeah, because
Wow.
that was my longest dry spell. So
And for you, that
from
was what?
oh
A
yeah,
week?
so no, that was about a month or two there. But before that, so other than basic training and other than being homeless, my longest dry spell was 48 hours for 16-ish years. Let's see, 96 to 2010, 97 to 2010. So yeah, and when I was on AOL, the first 3 years, like when I found out I was being cheated on, up until I joined the army, my longest dry spell was like 12 hours for 3-ish years.
Wow.
Mhm.
So here's a weird question. Are you religious by any chance or no?
So I identify as Christian. I guess most people that would be able to associate understand, but I believe in an Abrahamic God, but I don't like
Sure.
going to church because just different things,
Yep.
just,
I'm with
the
you.
dogmas.
We're together.
Yeah.
We're together. Monotheistic, believe in something, just and more connected to Judaism only because that's what I was taught. And that's
Mhm.
why I've studied. I spent like a year in Israel to become a rabbi, and I was supposed to stay another
Hmm.
3. And I was like, please.
It's funny you say that. I went to College of Biblical Studies in Houston to become a pastor. After all this happened, like because I've nearly died dozens of times. Like I really didn't think I was going to see 20 because of drive-bys in the 90s. Like I thought, yeah, I'm not going to see 20. And so being shot at, being mugged, being held at gunpoint, being held at knife point, the motorcycle
But
accidents, near drownings.
why were all of those things happening? Gunpoint, knife, gun, all of these.
Girls. Oh, some of it was girls. Others was people
Oh, so
jealous of
based
me
on the
having
fact
money.
the boyfriend would find out and like pull a
Or
knife on you, son of a bitch, you having sex with my
not
wife?
even boyfriend. It was sometimes it was guys that didn't have gangsters, quote unquote, that didn't have game, but liked a girl and were mad because that girl was talking to me and were like, anytime he tried to talk to her, she was like, oh yeah, Gallo this and Gallo that, and he's so funny and he's so sweet. Because remember, I was listening to love ballads from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So when other middle schoolers are like, roses are red, violets are blue, I think you're cute and I like you, I'm over here like, I can't wait to quench the thirst in my soul in your lips as a middle schooler. So I'm spitting game that guys, adult males can't even think of now. I say that to a woman now, and some of them are like, oh, ooh, they still kind of, sploosh. So,
Sure.
I'm doing stuff, I'm doing like college graduate level stuff in middle school, when these guys can't even compete. So then I ended up making friends with some of the gangsters. And fortunately, I got saved from a couple of times that I got jumped. Not that they stopped me from getting jumped, but they stopped the other guys from using weapons. So only just hands and fists, or feet and fists. But anyways, so yeah, I nearly, most of those were because guys were jealous. But like the car accidents, with or random things with my uncle driving or my mom driving, nearly drowning, that was just random shit. And it's been multiple times in my life to think that something out there, someone, something,
Watch.
some entity is
Yeah.
keeping me alive for whatever reason.
Oh
And
yeah.
after I went through recovery, then I realized, okay, maybe they want me to be a pastor. Maybe they want me to spread the message or do something. Maybe that's what I'm supposed to do. But college funding fell through. I was like, okay, well, maybe that's not it. If it was meant to be, I would have had the money to finish. But
Right.
anyways.
Right. So okay, so you're in the recovery phase of things. You're in the street still. You're coming out of the street. Are you working? Do you have a job? Are you just hustling VHS porn tapes?
No. So when I got back out the street, I was just holding a sign, getting cash. Got back.
Okay.
So I'm a tradesman, so I went back to work. Started working as an apprentice again because I didn't have my full tool set. Built up my tool set again, and then started working again. So, once I got back into my trade, I was, rolling the dough, and then fully started going into recovery because I knew I was an addict, but I didn't have a way to do anything. So then I started trying different things. And as a tradesman in a union, I had health insurance. So I tried with therapists first. And with the therapist, it was kind of like a disconnect because, as an electrician, I know how to read blueprints and install things, put in everything you need to get, the switch to work with the light. However, for me, a therapist is more like they can draw the blueprints. They can, okay, you need to put the rules say that the switch has to be this high off the ground and this far from the doorway or the door entry, and the lights need to be center of the room. And they can design it, but they don't know how to put it in. And so that was my disconnect with the therapist, is they understood the textbook issues that I was having, why I was doing what I was doing, but I felt like they couldn't relate to me, or I couldn't relate to them. So I gave up. I tried different ones.
Is that when you found, I think you mentioned it to me, is that when you found Celebrate Recovery?
No. Celebrate Recovery was where I started going with my friend originally, right? That's where I discovered I was an intercourse addict, but didn't do anything about it until after I came out of being homeless for a few months.
And that's just for those who are watching, celebraterecovery.com is a website for you to go check out. And here it is right here if you guys want to check that out. So that you can possibly, I don't know what happened. The site can't be reached. But and then the other one is SAA-recovery.org, which is Sexual Anonymous. And you can go there and check out if you think you have that kind of issue or problem, or you're just wanting to know more information about it so that you can help somebody else who's in that state or in that place. Those would be two of the good resources to go do that. Okay, so you're now making money again. You're doing better, and you're saying, okay, now I'm really going to start doing this recovery thing. So what's and then all of a sudden it was recovery, maybe a pastor, and you went to school for that. So then what happens? I guess we're getting close to where you are today.
So let's see. Therapist didn't work. Then I tried Sex Addicts Anonymous, and it also didn't work for me because the groups that I went to, it felt like they were kind of white knuckling it. They weren't so much as addressing their issues or working through their steps or whatnot. At least the groups that I went to, maybe other groups are.
What do you mean by white knuckle? Yeah, I know you kind of expressed it just now, but
yeah. So these guys, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, man, I didn't have sex this weekend because I called my sponsor and I didn't want to disappoint them, and I don't want to disappoint you guys, and so yeah, and sex, but they weren't. They were more holding to not have sex by accountability because they didn't want to disappoint someone versus working through.
I want to help myself
themselves. Yeah. So then I went back to Celebrate Recovery. Like, okay, look, guys, I lied to you about being a porn addict. I'm actually an intercourse addict, and I need to work the steps and explain the whole thing. So I went through that, worked through step study group. And Celebrate Recovery isn't just sexual addiction. It covers a whole bunch of things. So it's kind of like an umbrella for all the anonymouses that you could go to. You would go to at Celebrate Recovery.
Oh, really? Let me go back. I'm going to open that back up so we can show that again, because that's I thought it was just for sexual addiction. So is Celebrate Recovery is anything that has to do with addiction in some way, shape, or form.
It's a little more religious based, so they do more Bible quotes and whatever, but it's non-denominational. So you'll have a meeting on Mondays at a Catholic church, Tuesday at Baptist, Wednesday at Methodist. So it's different parts of town. You can go 7 days a week, and they break you off.
And do they have online sources as well, like for you to be able to do like if you wanted to do an online group? Do they have like? Because I think I don't know where it was. Well, go ahead.
I think they do now, or at least one of them have like online groups during the pandemic they did. But when I went, it was just kind of like, okay, this is a locator and kind of like an about. I haven't been on the website.
I think it's just in Mandarin though. They have online recovery in Mandarin.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's great.
So it covers all the addictions. It's food addiction, love addiction, chemical dependency, which is drugs, alcohol, codependency, and sex addiction, which is porn, usually porn.
Well, they even do social media addiction.
Oh, wow. That's a new one because that wasn't there.
I mean, it says, or at least I don't, maybe it's just their links, but it says resources and Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. I don't know if maybe that's, then there's a 12-step and the 8 principles. Glossary terms. I don't know. I'm just looking at the website.
Yeah. So
but there's stuff here. for anybody who's interested to find out more, or somebody who wants to get into recovery, or just wanting to learn about recovery to help those who are in your life who need recovery, this is the website to check out. By all means, it sure seems like it, at least. Okay, so let's get back. Healthier, doing better.
Mm-hmm.
Your recovery's happening. You finally admit the truth to yourself and to others.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it starts to happen, obviously.
Yeah, and having a conversation with like the ex-wife and with the ex-fiance who kind of set me off on this whole thing, right? Because she sees me on social media that I'm divorced, and she's going through her divorce, and finally we reach out and have a conversation. And she was a very ditzy. She was a very ditzy girl. Like if she were blonde, it would make sense, but she's not. She's a brunette, so it's just like picture your typical beach blonde bimbo from like the 80s movies, and that was kind of her essentially. But anyways, so she's like, yeah, I want to talk. We sit down and have a conversation. And she's like, I didn't start cheating on you until you started cheating on me. I'm like, wait, what? What the fuck are you talking about? She goes, yeah, you cheated on me. So that's why I started cheating on you with so-and-so. That's why I left you for, her husband. And I'm like, no, bitch, you cheated first. And we're going back and forth, right? And finally I tell her, look, I confronted you and asked you this in front of your parents. I was going to fucking kill you. And she goes, oh my God, I forgot about that. Yeah. Okay. Well, see, the reason I said that she cheated on me was because she was actually on cocaine. She was doing drugs. And remember, I despise anything with drugs. So she thought that I would forgive her for cheating on me because she knew I wouldn't forgive her for using drugs. So I got sent off on this whole path because she was afraid to admit that she was doing coke. That was how can something so wrong feel so right?
I mean, I don't want to dismiss your life, but I would like, please forgive me for saying this, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I would like for you to take responsibility for the subsequent actions and not blame her.
Oh, no, I don't blame her. That was
but no, it's just the way. Forgive me. Yeah, well, yeah, but and again, catalyst is on some level putting some kind of attachment to her, and I want to go back to what we were talking about at the beginning of this whole episode when we said that, it's hard for me to say this because I've had it happen to me where words definitely fuck with you when you are emotionally involved. I have to put that caveat in there. When you are emotionally involved, words will destroy you, or can. So, but at the same time, it just from the way that you say it, it seems as though you're still pointing a finger at her and being like, I'm fucked up because of you. No. Or I went on this lifestyle because of the things that happened because of you, and the way that you reacted. And so I then spent the next 20 years of my life destroying it because of your pain that you gave me. That's what I feel. I'm not being facetious or disrespectful or anything. I'm just acting it out, because that's what it feels like when you say it. But I'm sure that's not how you feel. So I just want you to.
Hearing you say it, yeah, I can hear how the way I describe it sounds that way, and it's not a blame on her at all. Like it's not I say, oh yeah, it's your fault. I don't think I've ever said it's her fault. It was like all the things, like I said, the way I grew up, all the other things, I was prepped. I was like on the edge to do it anyways. And my game plan essentially was, if she hadn't cheated on me, I was planning on leaving her when I joined the Army. Like my idea was like,
okay.
Yeah, so this was going to happen. This isn't like it just happened sooner than I thought it would, and it went off a deeper end than I anticipated. So, like I said, I was going to go to the Army. She's going to go to college. What relationship is going to survive that? She's going to go to college, party. I'm going to go in the Army, party. What relationship is going to survive that unless there's already a strong foundation? You're already married beforehand. So my thing was, we're not going to get married until after I go to AIT. And she was going to come out and whatever, and then I was going to break it down to her like, hey, whoever I hooked up with or met there, sorry, it happened. And I was going to like try to let her down gently that way. And because we were out of town, she could act a fool or whatever. But if she did, military police would just pull her off and, kick her off post. So like I said, I had a plan. Like, this was going to be over. I didn't want to be with her because I didn't want to be with just one woman for the rest of my life. Like, I'm not going to cook up with her and just get married.
But again, what about the mentality? What about the mentality of being married to her and her being the one that bitches and complains while you have the one that doesn't?
Wait. Go back.
It was part of the thing when you mentioned your mom and you were listening to music of your mom and certain classical songs. And one of them in particular was,
the side
you
piece,
had a woman on the side that doesn't bitch. And that's the one that bitches. So why couldn't that have been the bitchy wife with you having side chicks is my question.
So I didn't want to have that type of relationship. I wanted to be married and be like monogamous because, again, this is my upbringing of being able to do that because that's Latin American culture. But then also I grew up in Texas. I grew up in America. I grew up in the US. So there's all this stuff of being a good husband and being helpful around the house and picking up and cooking and cleaning and all this other crap. So, I was trying to mesh those two worlds together and who I was. And my idea was, okay, I'm going to go fuck around in the army, have my fun. And if she still wants to be together when we're done, we'll get married. If not, I'll find someone and be married to her and be monogamous. Like, my idea was sow my wild oats, have fun, and then settle down. Like, that's what I wanted to do in my mind. And at 17, 18, if I'm going to live past 20.
And with her, you wanted to settle down with her in the end.
No, maybe at the time.
Because you're saying that when you came back, okay, I get it. Okay, but at this point, at this point, all of that got kind of screwed because of the anticipation that you had that she destroyed. Because in essence, you were young. This is my first love. I am going to get married. If she were to get pregnant, I'm definitely staying because that's my mom's,
No. She got pregnant and I had her have an abortion.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So no kids.
So you wouldn't have gotten married.
You wouldn't even want kids. No, I didn't want kids. I don't want the kids I have. They know it. I don't want them. Fuck them. I don't like kids.
No, that's not. Stop that, guys, y'all.
Dude, my son. I'll text my son. Oh, he doesn't answer. But yeah, like he and I talk. Twice a year. And my daughter, I haven't talked to her since she was 12, or she won't talk to me. So, but yeah.
And if you don't mind, I know this is a bit. This is heavy. Why?
I don't like.
Is it because of your addiction?
I don't like. No. It's nothing to do with that. I just don't like children. In my perfect world, kids would go off to a boarding school, preferably from birth, whatever. At an age, school age, and they don't get to rejoin society until they're 25, until they've either graduated college or they can get out earlier if they go to a trade school. Otherwise, I hate seeing children in public. I hate children around me. Like, there's a very small window when kids are adorable and cute and fun, and that's like from when they can wipe themselves up until second or third grade. When you ask them, "Hey, what'd you do today?" and they're like, "I don't know, nothing." Whatever. Like, that small window is the only time that they're like, okay, great. I love you. You're awesome. You're amazing to have around the house. Everything else is like, fuck, when are you going to start paying rent?
Super question hits home now. Does that correlate to your life in any way?
No. My parents, I was orphaned, I guess. My mom died when I was 15, my father 30.
Prior to that, because you mentioned a period of time in the child's life that you're okay with. I wonder if that's the same period of time in your life that you felt that you were actually loved by your mom and your dad.
So my parents divorced when I was 5. So very few memories with my father until after my mother passed away. And with my mom, she did everything to take care of me and raise me, but very strict.
So then I think it's very, I don't know if it's a moment or not a moment. I'm just doing the math in my head because I look at people like mathematical calculations, like why did you end up the way you did, and if you take all of these little points, right, like your half point and point system, if you do that with somebody, then you can come to a pretty nice understanding of what went on and why. And so the reason that I'm asking that, and the reason, because you said you don't like children, but I like children when they're this age to this age. It's the age where they're kind of growing and learning and everything's interesting and beautiful and fun. And it's right when they get a little older and you go, hey, how was school today? I don't know. I don't care. And
Yeah.
that's the point where you're like, kink. Now, that point is around 10 or 11 years old.
Sometimes
This
7
is
or
the
8.
point in your life. So this is the point in your life that you changed. And you had sexual addiction starting in your life. Now, my question is, and this is a deep question to ask yourself, are you not liking yourself, so therefore you don't like children? You don't like that period of your life, and you don't like that period of who you were from 11 to 19 because of the things that you were, the way that things happened, the way the sexual addiction came up, all of it. Then what happens is that when you look at a child, you bring up all these feelings of yourself looking at a child. And then you go, oh, I don't like that because they're going to be this, they're going to be this, they're going to be this, and they're going to be this, which are all of your own weights that you have from your past. And so you don't look at children in a positive manner because I'm just guessing here, Gallo, but this is my guess.
Valid?
Because there's no reason, in my opinion, no offense to you, right? I don't see that when I look at a child, I don't care how old. I look at anybody younger than me, and I'm amazed. Period. And what do I mean by that? In the same way, and this is very morbid of me to say this, but in the same way that I am amazed, and I will literally sit down and watch this happen, a bird getting eaten by maggots, there's something fucking phenomenal about that moment. I don't know if you've ever sat there and watched it happen, like absolutely watched it. It's like mind-blowing to me.
Cycle
like,
of life,
yeah. And so when I see a child, or when I see a kid who's 20 or even 15 or 10, I don't know. There's just something about it's the same thing to me. It almost correlates the same exact way to me. Like I see this thing and I'm like, oh, that's a maggot eating life. Do you know what I mean? Like on some weird level, that's what happens to me. So I wonder why on some level it doesn't happen for you. Because there's a beauty in life. There's a beauty in growing. There's a beauty in all these things. And so I feel like it's just a perceptual shift for you. But you don't feel that way, maybe.
No. So I knew at a young age I was selfish. Like I did not like sharing. I did not like anything. So anything that detracts from me. And I think it goes back to one of the earliest times that I nearly died. So my first memory is nearly drowning. At about 4 or 5 years old. It was when my parents were getting divorced. My mom, to pay for the psychologist or psychiatrist, whatever, that I had to see for the divorce things, she was cleaning her house. This lady had a nice house. There was a creek behind her house. There's a little pier. And I ended up falling in, nearly drowning. And I remember screaming for help. And what I called big kids were actually teenagers, but these big kids didn't hear me, didn't come help me. And I managed to scramble up, get out of the water, and come back inside the house. And I got in trouble for going swimming and making a mess, bringing it in the house. And so in that moment, I don't know if it was in that moment, but at least the idea, the formulation of no one's going to care more about me than me, no matter who it is, not even my mom. Like my mom loves me and will take care of me and raise me and make sure I have food and a roof over my head. But as far as what happens to me directly or directly involves me, no one gives a shit. No one's going to care.
You've had heavy moments, Gallo.
Yeah,
you've had heavy moments, and I want to make specific to these moments that each one of them are you finding yourself alone. So if you want to go to the first moment, which what you just mentioned is being alone, and then on top of that, you get in trouble for doing an accident. So that's an extra point of heaviness on top. So then if you go a little bit further, it's I have a partner. We're going to stay together. Everything's going to be great. She cheated on me. I'm by myself. I'm alone. And then this other point in time, I'm on the street. I'm alone. Boom. I'm hitting. So you hit these moments in your life where you are super by yourself. And you found that the only way out is through you. And in turn, you've created in my mind, you've created an ideology which states I'm an island. No matter what happens to me in the end of life, I'm an island, bro. And there's so there's a part of me that it's a, I don't know what I want to call it, but it reaches out for you. Like I don't want you to be an island. I don't want you to be by yourself. I want you to be, I want you to have at the very least a rope that goes from one island to another and a little craft where I can like and come over and be like, hey.
and we're getting there. We're getting to
okay,
that part.
Cool. Great, great.
So,
let's go. Let's go.
We're finally the healing, the recovery, make amends, talk to the ex-fiance, ex-wife, everyone that I was in contact with that I could reach out to and try to make amends or explain what happened, whatever. And so in that time, I was all involved in roller derby. And that's where my name comes from, Gallo. So my dead name, my old name, I haven't used it. And even hearing that name is like, who the fuck are you talking about? Who are you talking to? So in roller derby, everybody has a name. No, I'm not going to tell anybody. I haven't shared it in years. And it's even been a thing in roller derby itself. So when I first started, I flipped a coin. I was either going to be Gallo or Sancho, one or the other. Like I just flipped a coin to choose my name. And at the time I picked Gallo because I had an amazing red mohawk. Like it was, I had to do, if I did Liberty Spikes, I had to do the ends first and then do the rest because I couldn't even reach the end of doing my hair. But eventually it got expensive. Then I started losing more hair. And so then it's easier just to shave it all off and have like, wispy comb over mohawk. So anyways, I was going from San Antonio all the way over to Gulfport, Mississippi, up to Dallas and every little town in between along I-10 and 45 and 290 to be a referee. And so I met thousands of women in that time. And again, I'm through recovery, so I'm not sleeping with everything. And I wanted to be known for a good referee and just developing my skill set, learning more about the rules, how to be a better ref, learning how the different positions to be. And through that, I always get introduced as, oh, hey, this is Gallo, whatever, because at the time, my ex-wife was on Facebook and like, oh, he's just there trying to fuck all of you. Don't let him in. He's going to be there. And, he cheated on me. And she was just, putting me through the ringer. So I deleted that Facebook account, made a new one with Gallo and made all these new friends and specifically kept them separate. So that way no one could correlate. Okay, my ex-wife is talking shit about my dead name. Nobody knows. She doesn't know what Gallo is. Right. So I kept them separate that way. And as I introduced myself over the next few months, I'd see these skaters 3 or 4 times because they play a home game in San Antonio. Then I'd be reffing in Beaumont and they'd be playing in Beaumont as well. And then I'd go to New Orleans and then another team. So I'd keep seeing these people over and over again. And like, hey, wait, what's your real name? You told me before. It's like, nope, I never told you. My name is Gallo. So it just kind of stayed there. And in roller derby, there's probably 5,000 people that I know through roller derby itself. It's a small but large community. And in that community of 5,000, maybe 10 people know my real name or my old name. And when they find out, because they had to go through so much work to figure it out, they won't share it. So it's kind of built in as like, oh, I'm the only one that knows his real name. So I'm not going to tell you just because you asked me for it.
Because he did it for a reason, obviously. Yeah. Do you know Misty Moody?
Yes, I know her. She's Mistilla. She's in Houston. Yeah. She's great HRD. Oh, cool.
We went to high school together.
No shit.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So I never got to ref for HR. Well, I did a couple of games in HRD, but it was mostly outside because at the time, roller derby, to be able to referee for HRD, you had to have reffed other WIFTA sanctioned bouts to get kind of certified to be able to be allowed to ref them. So it's kind of like a catch-22. So if they were a certified team, it was hard to ref for them. But all these other teams that were trying to grow and build up, those teams, I was able to
she's on screen now if you want to see her. Misty Moody.
Misty Moody. Yeah. Oh, I haven't seen her forever.
There she is. Yep. Yeah, I love her to death, man. She's always been a badass. Even in high school, she was a badass. She's always had her own thing, her own cool, and that's what I've always loved about her. She's always had her own.
Yeah, I loved her hair, her little mohawk, faux hawk that she had for a little while.
Yeah, when she had her mohawk. Yep. Yeah, there it is, right here. Yeah, no, she's a badass, dude. She's a badass. Yeah.
She had some pretty cool Halloween parties too. So yeah, no, again, it's a small world, man. Like somebody knows somebody that knows somebody that was there. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And me, I'm I'm a eclectic. I don't want to call myself weirdo, but I'm trying to stop using that word to describe myself because I don't know that I'm that weird. I think I'm just kind of cool. And so I'm eclectic as hell, man. And so I've luckily been really accepted by a lot of weird, different, cool groups. So I've been a magician most of my life, right? So I have tons of magic friends. I have tons of hypnosis friends in my life, and people who are well-known or semi-well-known who are already agreeing to do my show and be on it, which is like, wow, And then the fact that, like someone like you, or even it's just, I have all these people in my life that somehow or another I am either a third off connected, like very much 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. We can break that down to like 3 degrees of Paul. Because it's weird, man. It's so weird how many people I'm connected to, and like weirdly, like famous people, like just for no reason whatsoever. Like, and I've met them in the weirdest places. Like, it would never have been like, it's not like me fanboying. Oh my god, I'm totally. It's more like, oh hey, what's up, bro? Coffee? Cool, coffee. And then all of a sudden, a conversation just comes, and then before you know it, they're like, bro, you're like super interesting, and you're like all over the place, and I want to know more. And like, add me on Facebook. Let's go crazy. Whee! So we're back to let's get to the part where you're now into recovery. Mm-hmm. You're now at this point in your life. You're now obviously doing better. You have a house. You have green lights behind you and books, which means you've spent money on things. And you're obviously doing better now. So give me the daily part of recovery for you.
I don't think it's even daily anymore. It's now just a decision to realize that if I'm having a bad day, if I'm having something that happens to me, whatever it is, not reacting to it, not using, I need to go have sex to feel better, because even then back then it wasn't, I need to have sex to feel better. It was just, I should go have sex. Like, there wasn't even a correlation that I feel bad, I need to have sex to feel better. It was just automatic. This happened, let's go have sex. Like, it was such a short circuit. Now,
like we said, the coping mechanism that you were using was the one that you didn't you didn't have new tools yet until just recently in life, and now you're understanding, oh shit, I've been reactionary this whole time. I was never actually in my own state of me, because if I was, I wouldn't have fucking done that.
I didn't have a center. I didn't have a drive. So now, and then also the follow-up question would be, how do you have sex if you're an intercourse addict, and how do you navigate that? So after that, I got into a relationship with the skater, and we ended up getting married. And that was the healthiest relationship I'd had. And with that, one was like, we never go to bed angry. Like, if we're angry, we talk about it. And even her, like, she was amazing. She was a skater. So she was kind of like, imagine Beth Dutton. Like, everybody was scared of her. She was a badass. She would kick ass. But at home and with me, she was like a Stepford wife. And we would, every night of the week, we'd go out, do something. It wasn't just roller derby. It was somebody's divorce party, somebody's housewarming, moving out of town, moving into town, whatever. We were our gala opening, whatever. We do anything and everything 7 days a week. And so in the 4 years and 11 days that we were together, we did more as a couple in those 4 years than most couples do in decades. Like, they early on go on a lot of dates, but then after a while, it's just kind of like, okay, well, we'll go on a date once a month or 2 times a year or on our anniversary or whatever. So I am grateful that I had that relationship, because I know that a healthy relationship can exist even with the type of person that I was, with the history that I had, because we had this whole conversation. It's like, hey, this is all the stuff that I did. This is how manipulative and evil I can be. And she still wanted to be with me, which was amazing. And the way she would look at me, man, it just made me feel like I could do anything. Like, I could bitch slap Superman and he wouldn't do shit to me. Like, I knew nobody could fuck with me. And so being in that with her and then losing her was just fucking gut wrenching. Like, it just could not imagine or it's
So that
hard to
relationship's
explain.
you're not in that relationship anymore.
No, she passed away. So
Oh my
I'm
God,
widowed
I'm
now.
so sorry, Gajo. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Wow, and that's another, wait, if I may, that's another hit for you.
And so that one was
Where
when
you
I
get to a
tried to
point
start drinking.
where you felt, oh, that's when you started to try to start drinking. Fair enough. Okay. Because for me, that's your fourth hit. I mean, if from what I'm counting, I see another moment in your life where, and you just said it, I'm super grateful that I had this relationship, the best that I've ever had. She made me feel like I was able to accomplish anything. You get to this place where you've been given like this, and then all of a sudden, slink, and it gets cut right underneath you. But you have no idea how much you and I are the same. And the one thing that I want to throw at you, because for me, I've had, I don't know, probably at least 7 careers in my life that I've attempted to try and really, really do, whether it's an actor or a singer or a director or a magician or a right? And the one thing I could say is that I've never given up, and that I always am trying something new. I don't care. Like, I love the line from, I think it's Tony Robbins. I don't know who it is. I want to look it up now, but if you're going to fail like exceptionally. And man, let me tell you, I do nothing but fail exceptionally.
But see, on the flip side, you're only a failure if you actually quit. So if you don't get back up, so getting back up is the key. So on the flip side of that, for me, it's always stand on your toes. Like don't back down, stand up, never give up. Until you're dead, then you can quit. But otherwise, why are you going to quit?
Right. Yeah. And we can go back to, a lot of people will quit because of hurting people. Like you were saying, the one partner that you had that was what I would like to call borderline personality, where she was super in love with the relationship, but not wanting to. It's, I hate you, don't leave me. I want you in my life, but I don't really want you in my life. But I can't have you without you in my life. But now that you're here, and that back and forth is such a destructive thing. And it absolutely destroys the heart, the soul, the mind. It's weird because I don't think that the person who's doing it is doing it in a malicious place. They're just broken. And they're using techniques and tools that don't work well. You know what I mean? That's all that's happening there. And it takes a really, really beautiful human being to be able to say, it's okay. Like, I'm okay with your brokenness, and I'm not mad at you, but I hope you get fixed. And here are some resources. Like, seriously, I'm not even kidding. That is, like, what's the one that gets me the most is, and I've only seen this once or twice in my life, but a mother is on television after a child has been raped and murdered by this gentleman or whoever it is. And the first thing the mother does is look at the camera and be like, I totally forgive him for what he did because he doesn't know how. I'm like, how? If you were about to kill a whole entire family over a girl cheating on you, can you only imagine losing your child? And then coming from that place of benevolence? That's like, you know what I mean? So, yeah. Okay, so let's get to this point. Where are you now? What are you doing for work now? And is your life completely changed and you're now in total like recovery mode and you're all about helping other people to recover?
Ish. I like sharing my story, not to just brag, because in a sense it's kind of nice to brag a little, but if I'm being honest, but at the same time, it's also letting people realize that there is a problem with intercourse addiction, because before it, I thought sex addict, yeah, that's what, celebrities say just to avoid having to pay alimony or to have one more chance before getting divorced. Like, I didn't realize it was a thing. And having to deal with it now, trying to explain it, like, hey, look, yes, I am an intercourse addict, and in a relationship, you're going to have sex. Like you could not have sex in a relationship, but my sobriety for me is only having sex with someone I want to be in a relationship or maintain a relationship. So now I have a primary. So with my wife, just to backtrack a bit, is that we practice ethical non-monogamy. So because of how I was, and to kind of satiate myself to keep me from cheating, because I always had that back in my head, I might cheat, because whatever, like the impulse, the drive, the desire is still there, but I can still kind of like, no, I don't need to, I don't want to, whatever. It's not worth it. But with ethical non-monogamy, it's basically just hall passes, and we had our own rule set of how things are going to work, and it worked for us. We'd have threesomes from time to time, which she kind of started. We kind of fell this path because she wanted to have threesomes, and I was like, well, okay, fine, And so
this is during your recovery.
This was my wife. So with my wife that passed away, we decided that because she wanted to have threesomes with other women, then to make it work for us, because sometimes she wanted to play with women by herself. I'm like, well, that's kind of like not fair. I don't want this to be a seed of resentment later that you're sleeping with women and I'm not on your own. So I should be able to do the same thing, or we just cut off threesomes altogether. I'm fine either way. I'm happy with just you, or we can do whatever you want, but we're going to, keep this equal, or kind of keep this balanced. And so that worked out for us. And so now I know that to be in a relationship, that has to be a possibility or an option. And very few women are willing to share it on paper. Like you give it to them black and white, no. But most women are very open to sharing a man with other women, so long as they still have access to the man. And this is how I have those women that are still in my rotation. Like I said, I've have partners that I've been seeing for almost 20 years now, up to 90 days ago. Like, I don't try to add more partners. If I have a partner that comes in, they are like kind of permanent. Like they're going to be in rotation for years to come until they get married and aren't allowed to do anything. But my 20-year partner, there was a time she was married for like 6 years. So I didn't get to see her, talk to her, play with her. But now that she's divorced, we still see each other. We still have that relationship. And that is having learned to not use or treat women as objects. It's treating them as human beings. They want to be used as an object during, but they still want to be human after. And
this goes back to what I was saying. Sorry, this goes back to what I was saying about Ross Jeffries and his seduction model, where it has nothing to do with negging the person. It has nothing to do with making them feel inferior to you. His style is completely different from that. It's opening up and having the person connect with you, and that there needs to be depth afterwards, which is what we mentioned, right? So I just wanted to bring that up again because we were talking about that. Okay, so where are you at now? What are you doing? Are you married now? Are you single? You are married.
No, single.
Single now. Okay. How old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
77, whatever 77 and now is.
So you're 46. Dude, we're almost the same age, man.
Yeah. Are we?
Yeah.
July's my birthday.
You're 46. Yeah. I'm 47. I just turned 47 in August. So, and I'm 76. So.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. Yeah. So then, we're 11 months apart.
A year apart.
Yeah,
9 or 10 months apart.
Wait,
yeah.
You're August, I'm July, so 11 months ish.
11.
Anyways,
whatever. The point is that we're right next to each other, right? So okay, so what are you doing now for work? What are you doing for helping recovery and helping other people with recovery and that kind of thing? Like, are you involved in that at all? You said you do it through telling people your story by doing podcasts like we're doing now. But anything else? Are you going to meetings? Are you like showing people that it can be done?
I go to meetings from time to time because so in Texas, I was more established that I had my testimony kind of shared and like, I kind of vetted. And being here in Reno, I just haven't made the time to do it just because now my passion is more helping homeless. So my work, technically I'm retired because of investments and stuff that I've done in the past. So I'm okay now. But I work.
So you don't have like a normal quote unquote day job?
I mean, I'm a video editor, but I edit videos for a friend, and he pays me just because he feels guilty. But he's Just Nate with a K, and he helps homeless people here in Reno. And we
Hold
recently
on, I'm
did a
bringing it up right now. Is that on YouTube? Just Nate.
Just Nate on YouTube, TikTok, everywhere. Just
Hold on,
K.
and you're the person who's doing the editing for the videos
Since August, yeah.
since August. Okay, Just Nate, KNATE. KNATE. I am helping people out through the donation. This is it right here. Let me share the page. Everybody go to this channel right now. Everybody who's watching this, go sub because you should to people like this. This is I always get angry. This is the silliest thing in the world. But I get angry that Mr. Beast is a 20-something-year-old kid changing the world when there are multi-billionaires in this world that could be doing the same thing he's doing. And I get pissed off about it. You know what I mean? So here's Just Nate, and here's his channel. And he's not putting stuff up lately.
No, he does mostly shorts. So we're going to start. We've done a podcast. We got 6 episodes recorded. I'm still editing them. But he wants to do a 0 episode where he kind of like explains what he does and why he does it, because he gets a lot of the same questions. So the first episode is going to be a fact, and then now he's going to start doing podcasts with people that have come off the streets and how they're living their life now. But on TikTok, that's his biggest platform, and he just goes out and helps homeless people. He just goes up, hey, I got a backpack with some clothes and toiletries and stuff that you can use. Here you go. Do you need anything else? And whatever they need, he'll go out and buy it for them, whether it's a bike, a cell phone,
good, dude.
Whatever.
What a badass! This guy's a badass, dude. And he's just doing it from his own pocket, from his own heart.
Well, so he pays himself through AdSense from the ads on all the different platforms.
Fine. I don't care. That's
and then
fine.
The donations are what pay for the things that he buys. And then he also has an Amazon wish list to where those stuff fill the backpacks. So it's toiletries, it's clothes.
So he's doing the same thing as this. He's doing the same thing as what's this kid's name? It's very Jimmy Darts.
Oh my God, no. So, I get confused because I think
this brings up a really hardcore conversation, whether or not you should give homeless people money or not, and whether or not giving a homeless person $10,000 is actually a net positive or in the long run a net negative for them because of everything that we've talked about in this episode.
Because people in the streets
because if you were to go up to go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So they kind of fall in 3 categories, like you said: addiction, usually, mental health, and then kind of just bad times. But then once they're on the bad times, they might fall into a drug addiction to cope with life. And most people that are inside, people that have never been homeless, see that as, oh, they're using drugs. Well, I don't want to give them money, but that's their only escape. That's the only thing they can get. They can get drugs easily to escape the harshness of being outside. Whereas us, we got our cell phones. We can be on our cell phones 24/7. If they have a cell phone, they can only charge it in a few places if they're lucky, and it doesn't last that long. So we have all these forms of escapes. We have television, we have our cell phones, we have screens, we have movies, we have bars, we have all these things we can do when we're inside and spend our money on to escape the reality of having to work every day. And their only escape is drugs if they decide to go that way. So it's a whole different conversation, a whole problem. And I agree that Jimmy Dart's giving out money doesn't really help. And the reason I like helping Nate is to get some things they need that they ask for that they can't get because they're not allowed in stores.
Right. No, and once again, the idea of social media influencers just going out there and giving money. And there's been other occurrences. For instance, I believe this was a Jimmy Dart situation where he started helping with a GoFundMe campaign. We find out that the guy wasn't actually homeless. He was married the whole time, and the money still was received by that person. And then at the end, I think Jimmy got in touch with GoFundMe and was like, yo, dude, I don't want to give this guy the money. And they were able to get all the money back and give it back to all the people who tried to help this guy.
Yeah,
but it's those kind of situations, unfortunately, when money gets involved. There was even one where there was a husband and wife, and they were helping out a homeless guy. And then before we know it, they took all the money and they were only giving him a little bit at a time, but they were doing it in the same respect of what we're talking about. We don't want to give him $35,000 because who knows what he'll do with it, whereas we could probably help him live a better life if he were to just do it slowly, i.e. the stair system, which, once again, if you're homeless, a lot of people don't know this, but if you're homeless and you go to a shelter, it's the equivalent of being in jail. I know that it sounds harsh to say that, but if you've ever spent a night in jail where they make you grab all of your stuff and put it into a brown bag and hold it in a place for you, and then when you go to your bed, you're scared at night that you sleep with your shoes underneath your pillow because you're worried that somebody will steal your shoes. That's what a shelter's like.
And it's actually a little worse because there's, at least in Reno, the one here, there's women that are getting sexually assaulted, and there's a whole bunch of other things that go along with it too. And on top of that, with the shelters, like the employees there abuse you. Like, at least in jail, you have some protections that if someone hurts you, they're gonna try to figure it out and get you some type of help. You're gonna get taken care of. In at least a shelter in Reno, they're apathetic. Like, oh, you got hurt? Okay, well, leave if you don't want to be here. Like, they just don't give a shit. And the restrooms don't work, the showers don't work. Yeah.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but we live in a society that promotes mental problems. There's a really good documentary that just came out. I don't know if it's just came out. It's called The N Factory, and it stands for the word we all know N stands for. And there's a reason why certain rappers are famous for long periods of time. And there's a reason for why the African American race, as a totality, have been subjugated to a certain kind of character. And even though there are opposites of that character that are scholars, businessmen, of true learning, you never hear about them. You only hear about the ones that create a problem or an issue, let's say like an AOC, who's willing to be part of the talking head to create the problems in the world, And so it's unfortunate. And the only way out of that situation, the only way out of this mental health problem that we have in America is doing this, believe it or not. Like, this is the beginning, is having conversations that people are willing to listen to go, okay, like, I know somebody who has an addiction problem, and now maybe I have, once again, resources, or maybe I have a better understanding of where that person's coming from, or the trauma and the drama that they go through on a daily basis that I'm not aware of. Yeah, I'm a normal person. I have a regular job. I get my coffee at Starbucks. I go to work. I come home. I watch TV. I live normal. That guy's crazy. I don't know what to do for him. Now you do. Now you have a resource. Now you have a place where you can at least be like, hey, homeless guy on the side of the road, here's the $10 I told you I'd give you. And you may not want it, but I'm also going to give you this little piece of paper that says, I want to help you. And I want to help you in your recovery, whatever recovery you may need. You're on the street for a reason. Let me help you. Now, I wonder, honestly, I'm saying it out loud now. I really wonder how much that would change the interaction of you giving money to a person on the street. Because I've been that guy. I've been you. I've been on the street with a sign that says, give me money. Girl, just give me the money. Right? I didn't want to work. I was like 19 years old. And fuck it. Let me see if I can make some money. And I went to the street and I made like $200 in a day, begging on the side of the street. I was like, no wonder these people don't work.
Well, it also depends on the time of year and location. I mean, yeah, you can make up to 200. Average is 20 to 60. It depends. Like, it depends on location, depends on time of day, depends on city, a whole bunch of things, like whether they're apathetic or whether they're helpful. And even trying to help someone.
But there's ways around that too. Gajo, there's ways around that too, like gas stations. Walk around to fucking find 4 gas stations that are like at like a thing where you can walk across the street, walk to another gas station, walk to another, and just do that for 3 to 4 hours and walk up to people and just be like, yo, dude, I'm really fucked right now. I'm so sorry to ask you this, but can I borrow $5 or $10? If you even give me your number, I'll give you the money back. Oh, that doesn't sound homeless. I'm serious.
No, yeah.
And
If you're early on the street, you can. And there's
And
even gypsies that kind of do that too.
There was a really hardcore gypsy that was from New York, and this one upset me. She would wear these like arm crutches, right? I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, like the
braces,
the arm braces, and she would in Manhattan every day, and someone was like, how is this woman here every day? She's always like broken, and and someone followed her, and she lived in a brownstone in Brooklyn that was worth like $2.5 million. Every car in the driveway was a Mercedes, a Jaguar, a Lamborghini, not a Lambo, but like a BMW. And when they confronted her, what was she going to do? They confronted her on the news. And the sad part about it is that like they found her a couple months later in just another location.
Mm-hmm.
It's a job. It becomes a job. When you aren't a hustler and you don't have the skill sets that you might have had when you were younger, you do whatever you got to do. And if the sitting on the side of the road with some crutches is going to make me $300, $400 a day, crutch me up, bro.
Especially women.
Especially when it's a woman, especially when that woman is physically handicapped. How could you not? You know what I mean? How do you not do it? You feel bad if you walk by that person. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I know I've asked you this. You already answered it a couple times, I guess. You're kind of doing this thing with Just Nate. Mm-hmm. You're pretty good financially. You're not working for Tesla anymore. Is that the case? Like you went there, you're working for them, and then you're no longer working for them?
No, I quit pandemic. So there was a nice severance package because it was pandemic thing. And when the time that I hired on, they were like just throwing stock options at people, and I invested in that. So I can't complain.
Right. Sorry. I'm just getting messages. Well, man, Gallo, I want to, man, we've been on for like 2.5 hours already. I don't know if you know this, but I just want to say thank you so much for coming on today. For what I really want to thank you for is your straight honesty, bro, and your authentic way of being able to express it and be so honest about the pain that you went through. Because believe it or not, there are 3 people in particular that watch this from the beginning to the end. So that tells you somebody felt something and somebody heard what you had to say today. And I'm thankful that you came on and you were able to share this, and you were able to share this information with people that hopefully can help some other people, man.
Yeah, no, that's kind of the whole desire that I have now. The drive is to help people in any way that I can, and not just financially, whatever, but have them not just help, but also kind of change people's perspectives. Not change it, but kind of make it diverge a hair. Because for me, changing is like doing a 180, but diverging from their path just a hair to kind of reconsider things.
I call it. I have a company. It's called Pivotal Choice. I like calling it making a pivot, like in sports. I'm just here 1 second, there the next, but everything changed. Yeah. And I feel that we can make those changes. And this goes back to what I was saying when I was saying, please don't blame her in the wording that you use. It's the same. I always like to say, it's funny how in life we hear the same conversation or the same statement from people, but we don't. It just bounced for some reason. But then there was one day I'm walking down the street by myself and 2 people are walking towards me and they're having their own conversation. I have no idea who they are. And all of a sudden, as they're walking by me, she goes, yeah, and that thing about John, and you're like, oh, that's what all these people have been talking about for the last like 4, 5, 10 years that have been trying to And then all of a sudden it just clicks. And so I always say to people when they're like, oh my God, you helped me so much, or you helped me do this, that, and the other. I didn't do shit for you, friend. You accepted and you changed based on the acceptance of whatever I told you. I was nothing more than a light post with like 2 like signs on it, left or right, and you chose left, and I'm very happy for you that you chose left. And if you would have chosen right, still would have been happy for you. I might have been a little bit more sad, but I still would have been like, cool, that's his choice, whatever. I can't stop him from choosing, right? Be you. But yeah, I feel that that's that the weight is there when you do that. You know what I mean? And so that's that. So Gallo, again, thank you for coming on today, man. I really appreciate your time and your energy.
No, I love it. I love this is one of my other favorite podcast episodes or conversations that I've had, because it's been more of a conversation versus like, oh, how A, B, and C. Like they just wanted 3 questions answered. And this one, we just kind of bounced around everywhere, had a real conversation. I just wanted to touch on one thing, is the idea of like pivoting perspectives. Just imagine if you think of a widowed person and you're like, oh man, they're probably sad or missed their spouse. But on the other side, there's widows that are glad their spouses are dead because their spouse was their abuser. And that's something you would never have that conversation even think of, because no, that's not something that's common. So don't always believe your assumptions, kind of just be open to things and listen, because you never know when you're going to step on your own, step on your tongue or step on your own dick and say the wrong thing. But at least you be open to having a learning experience, especially now with you. I appreciate you challenging me on the way that I was accusing or, quote unquote, blaming my ex-fiance. And
no, I don't. Once again, I don't feel that that's what it is necessarily. It's the words, and I'm very like a neuro-linguistic programming kid in my head. Yeah. Words make the difference. Like in the way, in what, like I said, if you string words together in the right way, you can make a song and you can make people do things. So it was just it just touched me. That's all it was. And I was like, wait, so that's all it was, man. And yeah, that was the idea again of this podcast. And I want to say thank you to you for saying that, because the last 3 guests that I've had have had that exact same statement. Like, yo, this has been one of the better podcasts I've been on, because it's not just you asking me questions. It's you having a conversation, like a real conversation. You want to know me. You don't want to just ask me, so where were you on December 25th and how did that work out? That's not a podcast, bro. That's not a podcast. At least I don't think. Like, I like Joe Rogan's podcast because he does what we're doing. It's open form, free. Let's bounce. But we'll still get together and we'll still have these. This is why when I write to people and I say, yo, give me talking points and give me your bio and the links, because I don't need to know anything about you other than that bio and your links, and then I'm just going to go do that real quick and then come in and then sit down with you. I don't want to know anything about you when you come in here. For like, there's other people who study the person really hard. It's the last thing I want to do. Like, if I get to have like a Pauly Shore or a Roseanne Barr, who I've been reaching out to ask, or any of the people like Ross Jeffries, who should be on pretty soon, I think tomorrow even, or any of these, call them celebrities or influencers that come on, the last thing I'm going to do is be like, let's go through your life. Like, how many times has that happened to them? How many times have we had the conversation? Like, for instance, like there's a lot of Pauly Shore going on right now where he's been doing a lot of podcasts, and it always kicks back to his mom. And I want to have like a real in-depth on his feelings with his mom. And because we all know the story. Like, if you know anything about Pauly Shore, you know that he was at the Comedy Store his whole life. He was raised by the people who were in the back, by the comedians, by people that his mom was dating. So we know the story. I don't care about any of that. I want to know, like, what's Pauly doing in his life? How do you deal with your trauma? Well, where was the first bit of trauma in your life? Like, that's the stuff I like to know, because it gets the realness of the person out. And that's what we should be doing. We should be having real conversations that sometimes get a little awkward, that sometimes feel a little weird. But because of that weirdness, because of that awkwardness, and if we do it in the right manner, like when I ask you, like, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just asking questions. I'm not pointing a finger and saying, this is what you're doing. No, could it be this? Look, I just want to know, maybe. That's my perspective of the thing, you know? So that's why I ask in that manner. And I feel that if we were to do that more often with each other, we would have better relationships and conversations and communication because we're willing to be awkward. We're willing to be a little like off kilter and weird. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing here. So I from the bottom of my heart, dude, Gallo, thank you so much for what you just said, because it does hit home.
No, I mean, really, I appreciate you having me on. This is, like I said, one of the top two. Another one I was on, and kind of same vibe, just conversation, having a talk, not live streamed, but still a lot of fun. And I like this one. Like I said, you challenged me, made me kind of think of something. And I'll send you a text when we're done about another situation that kind of similar happened of, oh shit, maybe that's what really happened. Because you only have your own narrative. You don't have
just because we're done here doing an episode together, don't think that I'm not accessible to you or to anyone who's watching this. Literally anyone who wants to talk to me in some way, shape, or form, or wants to be on the podcast, or wants to sponsor the podcast. Let me mention, I have two sponsors. One of them is Isaac, that's episode 24, and the other one was Kitty. She didn't have an episode, but she still threw me money, and I want to say thank you to both of them, because without them, I wouldn't be using Steamyard. Also, if anybody wants to go there and do a podcast, but they don't know what they're doing, use Steamyard. It's only like $40 a month or something like that. You use my code down below. It's in the description. I get a kickback. Everybody's happy. That's the commercial for today. So with that, Gallo, again, I'm going to say thank you, and I'm going to go ahead and end the episode. But man, amazing, 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 amazing. Thank you, thank you, and thank you.
Thanks again. I appreciate it, and look forward to checking out some future episodes too, especially with the Ross Jeffries.
Yeah, I can't wait for it. He messaged me while we were talking, so I don't know what it is. I'm going to find out now. But yeah, so stoked, man. Again, thank you, and we'll see you soon.
Awesome. Take care.
Yeah, man. Bye. Oh my God! Every freaking episode. Every episode. And you want to know why? I'll tell you why. Because we're all amazing. I mean that. I'm not just kind of, like fake saying that, facetiously saying that. I'm not. I mean that. If you get to know somebody for real, you're going to recognize how awesome they are. Every person, no matter whether they're doing great or whether they're in the depth of the crappiest parts of their life, if you talk to them and you reach to the parts of them that is real, my friends, there will never be an episode. There will never, I am more than happy to say this, there will never be a bad episode on the road, in the waves, and on the other side. Never. Never. It can't happen. It just can't. And with that, my friends, please go out into the world, do something nice for somebody else. And if you can't do something nice for yourself, it does start with you. Number two, don't get caught up in all the crazy stuff in this world, because if you do, then you end up crazy and it doesn't help you or me. That's not good. And number three, please like, share, subscribe. Send this out to somebody who wants to see it, somebody who might need to know a little bit about recovery, because we all need to recover from the pain that we're in, from the pain that we've been subjected to by this world. And guess what? Life is pain. So the best thing we can do is learn how to deal with that pain in positive, beautiful ways. Poof. And with that, my friends, thank you. For anybody who watched, anybody who will watch, really, honestly, thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. And I will see you all on the other side.